Grand Rising, Grand Rising. It's Coach Renz. Gotta have some excitement. Gotta put some bass out there. Yeah, yesterday I chose the wrong camera for YouTube. It was jacked up. But welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Today we are Rapture fake, bro. That's what we're gonna talk about today. The Rapture fake. They had me all ready. I was ready, y'all. I was ready back in the day. Back in the day when I was reading Left Behind, reading that series, anticipating. Oh, I can't wait for the next one to come out. I wanted to be it. I was a deacon at a church. Was I a deacon yet? No, I haven't became a deacon yet. But yeah, in that late 90s, when that Left Behind series came out. Yeah. What up, Gucci? Tulsa? Mm-hmm. What up, Willie? How you doing, Debbie? Yeah, I'm starting late. We are not on TikTok today since TikTok has banned the brother until the 31st. I'm going to make a video about them today. I'm going to post on TikTok how to ban people for bullshit. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Wow, thing. You seen that movie? So today, and for anybody who will find this video watching it later on for the first time, I own a cigar lounge, so I'm always smoking a cigar. If that offends you, then I really don't care. But here's the other part. We deconstruct religion on here, and I know some people are going to be confused by the title. They're just going to see Rapture, and then all of a sudden they're going to like, ooh, let me watch something that's going to tell me about the Rapture. Going to remind me of I'm going up to glory with God and miss the tribulation. Some people that's not what this is about. That's not what this channel is about. So you might want to jump off if you're watching this later on, or if you're coming on here now. We deconstruct religion. This is one of and the Rapture is one of those things that was in, when was I reading this one? 2000, 2002? Somewhere, no, it wasn't 2000. It was like, yeah, in around that 2000 to 2001 era. I was, like many people, I was caught up in that Left Behind series. And I was still looking for that, I want to make this Christianity thing work. But at the same time, I was like, this shit ain't working. Because every time I try to make it work, I go research to make it work. It always leads me down the wrong path. Now, I got to admit, the Left Behind series, the quotes of the Bible and the way that they wrote it, it made you think that, oh, this is it. We gonna be with Jesus in the sky. We're gonna meet him in the sky. But of course, being me, I had to go read some other books. I had to go do some other research. And at this time frame, I got the internet. So I already understood how to go to college sites, non-biblical scholars, but look at, religious studies to get resources and references. And old Poe left behind got left behind. If Jesus had to go through crucifixion, then why Christians think they get a free out? Because it's the easy way out, bro. That's the easy way out. Right. It was already 2,000 years ago. We got left behind. Actually, we're going to talk about that too. About how the actual belief in the rapture, just like many other things, especially in today with these end time people, they will have a prophecy, a prediction. When it doesn't happen, they then have to restructure the whole religion based on it. So before we actually get into the rapture and all that sort of thing, like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We're trying to grow something. We're going to grow the kingdom. We're going to grow the kingdom. So like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Share. We're almost at 8,000 people on YouTube. We need about 3 more people, I think. It would be at 8,000 people on YouTube. We want to keep growing. We're close to 14,000 on Facebook. We need to keep on growing. I can't talk about TikTok because they kicked me off TikTok until the 31st because somebody got their feelings hurt. I'm going to talk some shit about that today on another video. So, you know, the thing about the rapture and many other prophecies is that when they don't happen, oftentimes the people in charge, they always like to say the government's not in charge. It's not a bureaucracy involved in religion bullshit. There's always people in charge. But they, bring this microphone closer, they always have to then go back and change it, fix it, make it work for them. Thank you for sharing, Erica. Debbie, thank you for sharing. So the thing about it is this. So let's take, for instance, your Seventh-day Adventist, right? In the Seventh-day Adventist religion, cult, they believed that the rapture was going to happen in the late 1800s, but then when it didn't, they restructured. And then when Ellen G. White, because Ellen G. White, she predicted the rapture that would happen before this generation, the generation that they were, of the people that they were living in right then, that it would happen, but it didn't happen. So they had to come together and they had to redo the religion, restructure it, and effectively take out a time frame. You see, it was very popular. The last time, one of the last time that it was very popular to give an end time forecast in a major religion or a growing religion. And this, they were considered pretty big back then. I think they had like 200, 300,000 people. It was around that 1800 era, and many people were growing their groups because, you know, you just finished the Civil War in America, things looking kind of jacked up in Europe. Then they had World War I, World War II. You know, it was very popular to say end of the world, end of the world, end of the world. There are many pastors who made cottage industries out of end of the world prophecies. But then when your prophecy doesn't happen, instead of realizing that maybe this religion ain't right, they often would just restructure it because they can't lose that money. Can't lose the money. Got to keep the moolah. Got to have that. So, and we got to keep the people. And plus their faith is attached to this thing. They believe this thing. They want to believe this thing. So they have to keep it going. I know for some of us, we grew up and we saw the David Koresh. We saw the, what's the ones who was in California waiting on the spaceship supposed to fly by. They was wearing the purple outfit. I mean, that dude looked like he was some kind of serial killer. But do you remember? But I don't remember, but we had the Jim Jones. Now, Jim Jones, he took a whole bunch of people. But for the most part, we saw minor things. We never saw massive movements in our time frame. Now, you still got people out there who will preach these things, but it's very minor, not big. I think David Koresh had a couple of hundred people inside that complex, a couple of thousand people in his whole entire organization. So it wasn't massive. It wasn't Jim Jones-ish. It definitely wasn't Seventh-day Adventist and all that. But this whole rapture thing, the apocalyptic writings have always been popular. It's always been popular. And so the rapture is just another piece of apocalyptic writing that was actually mistranslated and is not actually referring to any time today. And the scriptures that they use, I think it's like 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians, does not talk about an actual what's the term? I am messing up. I had all this stuff ready in my mind on my way. But it is not a pre-Antichrist, pre-7.5 year of 3.5 years of peace, 3.5 years of hell. This is not a pre-Antichrist thing that happens. This is my first thought process. First thing that I realized when I was younger, that there was no rapture that was going to happen before the Antichrist comes. And then predestined, thank you. No, predestined is not the word I was looking for, but don't worry about it. And I realized that these people that there was not going to be a rapturing up before, the 7 years come, and then I had to realize that there was no rapture, period. There was no rapture, period, because the writings are just false in itself. And that if there was any type of rapture that this book was predicting or talking about, it had already happened, but it didn't happen in the way people wanted it to happen. You see, that piece of scripture that says that there will be two in the field and one will be taken and the other one not. All those writings. That's actually was talking about, and what my first thought, that was talking about, hey, two in the field, one is taken, the other one survives. Those are not talking about, and at first I thought it was talking about when the Roman government would come in and they're going to take the Christian and go kill them, because I was taught so much about the Christian persecution. So my first thought was they're actually talking about how the Romans came in and persecuted Christians, right? But then I realized that's not what they're talking about either. When you separate and when you look at the scriptures for themselves and the books that they are for themselves, where they're talking, anytime they're talking about two people being together and one is taking, the other is not, that if you're standing on your rooftop and you try to go back into your house and get your belongings, then you'll be taken. They're not talking about people. And at first I thought that, they talking about people who are still holding on to their material things. No, not talking about that either. Actually, in Mark, where it talks about that, Mark or Matthew, where they talk about that, they're actually speaking on a flood that was sweeping through the land. That if a flood is coming, it is best for you to get your ass to the rooftop to survive the flood than to try to go down inside your house and collect all your belongings. How many times have you watched a movie? Because y'all know I'm a big movie guy. You watching a movie and then somebody, they got the chance to escape, but they're like, I got to go back and I got to get this. And you're like, who gives a shit about that? Run, right? So that's literally what they're talking about. They're not talking about some rapturing up to the sky. Now, Paul does talk about the coming of the return of Jesus, right? The return of Jesus and establishing the kingdom on earth. Well, Jesus said that he was coming. First, Jesus told them that he would come back before this generation ended, that there'll be those of this generation who won't die. So when Paul wrote that, he wrote because there was churches concerned that, hey, a lot of our members are dying off and this Jesus ain't came back yet. So since Jesus ain't came back and these people are dying, what's going to happen? What's the deal? So Paul was reassuring them and saying that, no, Jesus is going to come. When it talks about them being caught up in the sky, when Paul talks about them being caught up in the sky and being able to fly up into the sky, some scholars think he means it literally, because there's an Old Testament thing. There's an Old Testament verse that talks about the Jewish people having the ability to fly at the end of days. But what they were talking about in that scripture was the diaspora of the Jewish people coming back on a boat. And if you ever sat and watch a sailboat come over the horizon, it looks like it flies out of the clouds, out of the sky. So the metaphor of it all, the thought process of it all, how their minds worked at that time frame. So Paul took the idea of them having the ability to fly to say that they're going to be certain Christians who are going to meet Jesus in the sky like an envoy. I can't think of the Greek word that was used, but that same Greek word starts with a P. It means so let's say you living back in those city-state days, as a idea of honor, as well as a way to make sure that the person can get in safely. When somebody important is coming to your town, you don't wait for them at the gate. You don't let them get all the way in. You go meet them about 10 minutes ride outside of town, and then you escort them into town. That way they come safely, and the military doesn't think that there's something going on, and they're also honored. If you've ever watched series like Spartacus or any Roman series, you may have noticed, or you may not have noticed, but they do that a lot, where the mayor of a town or the chieftain of a town, or who's ever the important people, if somebody important is coming, they go outside the city gates to meet that person and then escort them into town. That's what Paul was describing, that some of them will fly up and meet the Jesus and then escort Jesus to the earth to then do his thing. But he was just writing a letter of reassurance. Why? Because Jesus said that he'd be back before this generation was over. The generation was almost over, and yet Jesus hasn't came back. So just like after Ellen G. White's predictions were wrong, just like when anybody's predictions have been wrong, the organization, the church, restructures it. They change it around. Paul now has to change it around, which further indicates he's just writing to maintain power and maintain prestige, whoever this Paul is, because we don't know who Paul actually was. So you had a lot of that going on. And then you've had throughout history different people. Like there's been many churches. I actually met a girl and her husband that was in the Marine Corps. They were stationed in Hawaii, then got stationed in Germany. And they believed, from the church that they were stationed, that they used to go to in Hawaii, only people from that church were going to heaven. They were the only ones that were going to be raptured up. Of course, the Jehovah's Witness will tell you that only the 144,000 are going to be raptured up into heaven. Everybody else will live on earth. Now, before there was 144,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, it was only the 144,000 Jehovah's Witnesses that was going to go up to heaven, and everybody else was going to go down and go to hell. But then after they went over 144,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, all of a sudden now they had to change the doctrine and say, no, well, we're going to be in heaven, but there's going to be a new earth. We're going to take the part that it says about a new earth, and yet that's where the rest of y'all are going to be. So I started seeing how they consistently would change the story. You had this going on throughout, ever since this religion's been around. Shit, you had one guy, I think his name was it's not Botticelli, but it's some Italian name. Y'all know I'm so bad with names. I really should have like a checklist next to me. But most of the time, I thought about this today. That's why we're doing it today. I don't have time to prep. But anyway, he was talking about only that his people of his church. This is like back in the 1600s, right around the 1600s. Only his church, his group, were going to go to heaven, and then they would be raptured up. And then that leader of that church, he will be the one that will come back for the people. When you read the Bible, facts. There's a lot wrong with the Bible. There's a ton wrong with it. When you read the Bible from a higher dimension of conscious, you realize how simple yet irrelevant the book is. You realize it's just people explaining their spiritual journey in a fun, imaginary way. I can agree with you on that one. And it's right, but it's a political writing as well. You got to throw in their politics. There's a lot of people who take it literally. And people are easily duped into it. And this idea of a rapture is something that's easy. People really love it. Because why? Because the rapture is about selling two things: sparing you of pain, because you won't have to go through the 7 years, and it's mainly those last 3 years, but you won't have to go through those 7 years. And then the second part is that it's the hope. They're selling you hope. So they're selling you the relief of pain and hope. Hope, because your life here sucks. You're always struggling. You're always going through something. There's always a problem. If your money right, your love life ain't right. If your love life ain't right, then if your love life right, then your money ain't right. If your love life ain't your money right, then your health ain't right. You know, if all those things are right, then your kids ain't right, or your parents ain't right, or your brother, sister, or the economy, or the state of the nation. There's always tribulation. That's the word I was looking for. There's no pre-tribulation rapture. Is was my first thing. But you're always going through some type of tribulation. It seems like it. You have moments where everything seems great and peaceful. But for the most part, most people are always going through some form of tribulation. And most of the time, it's self-induced tribulation. They created it themselves based on a series of decisions. Remember, we talked about a law of causation. You create your own issues most of the time. Yeah. So the teaching of dispensation, which became very popularized in the Americas from the 1800s on up, is what has created this pop culture mindset of the rapture. Prior to that, there's very little evidence of a large body of people who believed in the Bible, who believed in the idea of a pre-tribulation rapture, or even a rapture at all. Most of this thought process has only been around for about 150 years. And when they wrote that Left Behind series, oh my, did it, the evangelicals and the Baptists gained so much popularity and people ate it up. I ate it up too. When I first heard about the Left Behind series, I think he had already written about 4 or 5 books, 4 or 5 of them. I read those 4 or 5 books in like a week. I read all of them in a week. And then every time a new book would come out, within a day or two, I read the whole damn book. Never contemplating. I was trying to back up Christianity at the time. I didn't think conversely to it. But all of it is a bunch of BS. And if you think about it, it's cruel as hell. The rapture. If this guy did a rapture, it would be so cruel. Let me see what you say right quick before I go on. Spiritual and proper definition is a physical, materialistic. You know, what my damn glasses? I'm over here struggling. Nothing to do with all 4,200 religions. That religion will be used to cause confusion. Okay. Sometimes the truth is so simple as people who are hurt by the trials of Jesus, and I hate when this thing is, they look together. They miss the simple message: no Jesus, no hell, Zeus. But the truth is, he's us, a part of a tribe of nation man, which is order, but our generation, divine order, the greatest sacrifice still to this day. That is all for now. You talking about Jesus is the greatest sacrifice? Jesus cannot be the greatest sacrifice since Jesus never existed in the format that people believe in. There was no Jesus sacrifice. There was no crucifixion of Jesus. You cannot find one Roman account, and they accounted for all their crucifixions. They kept very good records. You can't find a crucifixion of a Joshua of Nazareth, or Joshua, son of Joseph. There isn't one. Oh, man is still the greatest sacrifice. He was hung from a tree. We were hung from trees. Okay, maybe I'm not understanding what you mean, Iman, by that. Because no one has been a sacrifice for all the people. You might have some people may have sacrificed for a movement. You may have sacrificed for your family. But as far as some spiritual sacrifice, there has not been some spirit. There, no man can do a spiritual sacrifice for everybody. It's an impossibility. It's an impossibility. It doesn't work that way. You are your own. Your sacrifice is within yourself. It's sacrificing your own, sacrificing the negative portion of your own brain. Becoming a better person, growing, developing, becoming a higher conscious being. It's all from within, nothing outside. And we can disagree on that, and that's fine. I do not mind when people disagree. I'm not disagreeing saying, okay, now go away. No, stay, disagree. I don't want people to agree with me on everything. But so this whole rapture thing, I want you to think about it. If you've seen the movie for Left Behind with Nicolas Cage, his was much better. Who else did? Somebody else did a Left Behind thing movie, but it sucked. But Nicolas Cage, I did see his version of it. I saw both versions. I want you to think about something. This guy is so benevolent, so kind, so loving that he would have an airplane filled with people, filled with babies and children. Because you can make a case and say, well, the grown folks had an opportunity, the grown folks had a chance. But when did the infant have a chance? When did the children have a chance? When did the 12-year-old, the 11-year-old, the 10-year-old have a chance? But yet they're on a plane and the plane crashed and they died. You got the babies that were trying to be born, and all of a sudden the doctors, the nurses, everybody's gone, and now this baby dies. The trains crash. The building was on fire. There's children in the building, but the firemen are now gone, and the babies die. Imagine how many small children and babies would die if this left behind, caught up in the air bullshit happened. Where's their redemption? Where's their opportunity to learn, to grow? Why did that soul come into existence, but it never has an opportunity to make a decision left one way or another? What do you do with that one, oh dear Jeebus? That's cruelty. That's genocidal. But you can understand, but I can understand how some of those writers back then would have thought that, hey, if everybody just up and disappeared right now, at what point, there's no danger that people would be in. Where's the danger? What y'all talking about here? You're not called to be believers, but knowers of self and self-knowledge, which is the truth, and our greatest as a people, a nation, a tribe. You are absolutely right. We are called to be. I agree with that. You should become a knower. You shouldn't believe nothing. You should. The only level that you get with somewhat belief is hypothesis and estimates. And even the hypothesis and estimates are backed by some level of data. And then you can make a decision, but then you still test it to see if you are correct. First century Roman history that fabricated the story of Jesus, the Augustus Caesar. No, you're absolutely right. Jesus was created. Jesus is a created story. Starting with Vespasian, and then Josephus, Titus. I always forget my man from Alexandria of Egypt. Then every now and then his name come in my mind. It is always it was a scripted writing, and then other people who got involved and started writing more and more, and then as it became something, then you have your people like Irenaeus and Justin Martyr, who then add more and more to it centuries later. So all of these writings, all of this is a creation of man. So if all of that, if even if somebody named John actually wrote Revelations, right, and wrote it based on a dream that he had, it was based on him having a belief in something that was false, which made his dream filled and distorted by falsehoods. The message was knowledge of self. No, I don't. There's some message of knowledge of self within the Bible, but that's not the message of the Bible, in my opinion. The message of the Bible is controlling the people, making a docile version of Judaism that would stop disrupting the Roman Empire. That was the message. We want y'all to have your religion, but stop disrupting the Roman Empire. Do you believe or know of manifestations? Yes. That's what we covered for about 8 weeks in the hermetic laws. At the end of the day, the hermetic laws are about manifesting your divine self and manifesting whatever it is you want to do. Whatever it is you want to do, have, be in your life. It's all a manifestation that starts with your mental energy. It has to be created in the mind first. And then we went through all the processes of the 7 hermetic laws. But there is very little truth in the Bible. It's a little bit. Very little useful information that you couldn't find somewhere else or already have, or that your parents didn't automatically teach you. You didn't need the Bible to tell you not to steal. Your parents told you not to steal. They taught you not to steal. Hopefully, if you had good, decent parents, they taught you not to steal. They taught you not to lie. They taught you all those things. And before there ever was a Bible, there was already the Hammurabi Code, the 42 Confessions of Ma'at. There was already the teachings of the Tao, the teachings of Buddhism, Hinduism, animalism, the Sumerians. There was already these things that taught people morality, a standard of morality in different civilizations. So nobody needed the Bible. But as far as a rapture is concerned, because I don't mind going veering off, but I don't really know what y'all point is now. Right. Nobody in the Bible had a Bible. They didn't have a Bible. They had they did carry different writings, which is an interesting. That's my guy, Paul. Paul been missing in action, y'all. Paul been missing in action. What's interesting, when you go and you study all these things, you find that there were all kinds of writings, all kinds of people writing different things. You got this new religion. So you had all these new people just writing, the secret writings of Judas. We're going to write the secret gospel of Adam and Eve. We're writing the gospel of Elijah. You know, it was a great opportunity to go out there and write something and call it scripture. That was the time frame to write it. You had the book of Enoch, which was very popular during that time frame. You had all these things, and apocalyptic writing was very profitable. It was very profitable. I'm not going to agree that they had self-knowledge. I think that they had profitability knowledge. They saw an opportunity, just like it. There's no difference back then than it is from when dispensation came out, and all these pastors, they saw I forgot, there was some white guy, he was doing all these videos where there was a combat area. He would go there and say, this is a prophecy of God. This is fulfilling prophecy. And he was killing it with dispensation. And then all of a sudden, all these other pastors, they start teaching dispensation because it's bringing in people. People are interested in it. And then when prosperity preaching got big, we saw these people growing with prosperity preaching. Oh, shit, I'm finna start preaching prosperity. It is not a knowledge of self. It is, I'm moving with the wave that has the people's attention. And that goes across everything. As a person who's ran multiple businesses, the most important thing that you can do is change the direction of your marketing and advertising to wherever the attention of the people is located. And then whatever entertains them, whatever captures their attention, that's what you need to be doing, as long as it's within your own morality. You know, I could easily get more people inside this cigar lounge if I shot videos of girls twerking on the chairs. I could do that, but I'm not, because I don't want that crowd, first of all. But that would work. Sex is always sold, but that would work. Um, you know, have a bunch of people in here having a party, drinking, getting drunk, party, loud music. That would get people in here, but I don't want that environment, so I don't care. You know, but my point is, whatever the people's attention, Creflo Dollar said, "Oh shit, look at all this prosperity preaching is making me money. Let me get more. Let me do more of that." Same thing with all these other preachers. So those people back then, who wrote most of the things a century later, decades later, they were writing based on, this is moving the crowd. This is something new that I'm getting in on the first floor, and I'm going to write some stuff. People had opportunities to become, you just was a bishop in a dying pagan religion, as they call them, pagan religion. And now you have an opportunity to jump over to this new growing religion. I was a bishop over here, or a high priest. I can just jump over here and be a bishop. That's pretty much what happened to like Irenaeus and Caesarea. You know, they just jumped over. You know, I mean, it's CVS. They just jumped over, and they was automatically a bishop, a church father. If you had children and you loved them, you knew that was to come, pertaining to the we have gone through. Would you not try to warn them? If I knew what was to come, Revelations ain't to come. It's not coming, so there's nothing to warn them about. So what am I warning them about? And it's the lust in Scripture. It says to flee from lust. There are many teachings that tell you that you should flee from lust. Buddhism, which was around 700-800 years prior to Christianity, told you that you got to get away from lust. That's a common thought. So you're saying the truth is the truth. What is the truth, Floyd? Now, what we've gone through as a people, is a religion that has a basis in racism, and through that racism, it has been applied to many people, and in most recent times, and recent times meaning last 2,000 years, it has been most egregiously, actually more than 2,000, about 2,500 years, it has been most egregiously applied to Black people. So you're talking about a religion that is set up to be racist, set up racist. The moment that religion said that God has a chosen people, that religion is racist as hell. And through that racism, that religion has been able to oppress the darkest people of color, which is my ancestors. I don't know your ancestors, so I'm gonna say my ancestors. So there is absolutely no way in hell I would ever attach myself ever again to any form of that religion. No Black person, no person of color should ever attach themselves to any form a re-engineering of this religion. No, it should just throw it away. Just throw it away. There's no reason to have any of it. Everything that this book does have that's decent, you can find in some other religion, some previous religion. You don't need that book at all. There's nothing. This book has no purpose. It has no use. Yeah, I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater on that one. You can't separate the religion from the spirituality of it. It is all the same, man. People, that's the newest thing. That's the newest thing. And let me tell you, this is the newest thing. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, hardly anybody was separating the religion and the spirituality. It was all the same. But religion has gotten a bad name over the last 15 plus years. And so now everybody's trying to separate the religion from the spirituality, the religion from the relationship. Was nobody talking like that 15 years ago? 20 years ago, nobody was talking like that. This is all new bullshit. This is all new bullshit. This book is so damnable that there is no message that I ever want from this book. I want nothing from this book. I refuse to take anything from this book. I have said in the past that it got some good stuff, and that is true. It does have some things that are positive, but I would rather go find that same positivity out of Buddhism or Hinduism or Jainism, any other isms than that one. That book, do you know, I didn't do the video yesterday. I wish I would have done it yesterday, but I didn't. But I'm going to do it today, a separate video. That in the Talmud, they used the so-called curse of Ham, which is actually a curse on Canaan. They used that to oppress the sub-Saharan African and the Cushite African way back before Europeans went to Europe, went to Africa, went to the Americas. These people in the Levant were already creating a separation based on color. We like to think that racism was created in the 1400s. I mean, late 1400s, early 1500s. But no, racism was actually, separation by color was actually created way back around 500 BCE in order to oppress and separate the people of the Levant. And I know everybody like to say, oh, they were black, they were black, they were black. Bullshit. Not at that time frame. A bullshit. At that time frame, they had already been in trade with Europeans, being in trade with the Greeks, being in trade, and they all weren't called the Greeks exactly at that time frame, or in earlier time frame, whether they were Macedonians, they were Cretans, they were from Sardis, but they were already in trade with these people. They were already dealing with a lot of these people. They had already turned light skinned. They were already light skinned by 500 BCE. I know we like to think that they was black, and that they didn't start turning cream until the Greeks came and conquered after the Persians. No, them motherfuckers are already brown, light brown by then. It was already a mixtures with different people. Hell, there were Asian. There were people from India who was in the Levant during that time frame. By the time the Romans came, there was already people. There were people from all over that region that was there. They didn't just start trading with the Mongols and China when Marco Polo went. They've been doing trade long before then. That's why that region was so important to that area of the world, because of this trading opportunities. So this book has been racist for a long ass time. The moment the Talmud was written in the late 500s, they added race to it. They were being racist right off the rip. So I say this with all the love in my heart. Fuck them and they book. There's no skin color. All skin pigmentation is different climate. All the propaganda. Yeah, racism is a made up thing. I agree. I can't, if I hit that see more, it's going to throw my whole thing off. But racism is made up bullshit. We are the ones who are cursed. he who hangs from the tree shall be cursed. Dude, you seriously believe that we're cursed? I'm asking, do you seriously believe that we are cursed? Okay, see, okay, so you do believe that, but see, you believe in those scriptures though. So a person who would believe in those scriptures would believe that black people are cursed because we were hung from trees. You do realize that white people have been hung from trees as well. White people have been crucified. White people have hung. That Asians have been hung. Asians have hung from trees as well. That every group, there's not one group that hasn't had some people hung from trees in history. So that would mean everybody is cursed. You can't just look at black people's history and most recent history. You got to cross the board. Even in the old West, white people are the white people from trees. So are cursed as well. It's not, you can't look at that and say it's me against the world. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. If you're going to say that by being hung from a tree you're cursed, then that would mean everybody is cursed. See, this is why these believing in something like that. And yeah, I do refute it because somebody wrote it doesn't make it true. Prove that Yakub ever existed outside of your I've talked. Here's the funny thing. I am not even gonna try to say that name because I'll probably mess it up. And I don't like that. So I'm gonna call you Tafari. I can say that one, but I probably mess up your first name. When I went to Saudi Arabia, Oman, Dubai, Qatar, all over the Middle East, and I spoke to Arab Muslims, ain't never I talked about Yakub. They were like, "Who the hell is that? Where you get that from? Who made that up?" It's only the black people in the Americas who teach about this Yakub person. So I want to who came up with that? Because none of the Arab Muslims, none of the people who are over there who's supposed to have the message talk about a Yakub. We have come back into our place of greatness, being the true rulers of the land. We have been freed, but we know that our truth pertaining to the lineage of our nationality. Okay. When we back to our place of greatness? When? Where? Where? Where are we ruling? Where are we running things? And who is the we? Who is the we? That's the first part. Who is the we that's now back in our place of greatness? Because I don't see where this we is ruling anything. Right now, we are still in the status quo. We've made some inroads, true, but we're still in the status quo. So who is the we? Where's the we at? And who is this we? What is we doing? All 4,200 religions are wrong. The challenge for all the 4,200 religions. If you write that much, I won't be able to see the rest of it. They can't answer is that they need to show the epistemology. I'm probably saying that wrong. Evidence of their never heard of what, David? I mean, look, here's the thing. All these, no religion can actually prove their deity. None, not one. No religion can prove their deity. No religion can prove their Messiah figure, their messenger, their message, their angelic beings, their miracles. None can prove any of that. Not one. nobody can prove prophecies, because you can have an event happen and multiple religions will claim that to be a prophecy from their religion. So who's right? Who's right? You can have a miracle happen. What's the old joke? You know, a rabbi, a Catholic priest, Baptist priest, a monk are in a car accident. Each one of them will claim that their God saved them, but neither can prove it. Now, what you can look at, if you can figure out the math of cause and effect and determine why everybody was saved. The construction of the car, the speed to which they were traveling, the direction that they were traveling, the piece of road that they crashed on. If you can figure out all those things, you can then determine the causation of why they survived. But it's not because of some deity. When I break down religion I do it from both. Depends on what we're talking about, but both. If you denounce the one true God, you denounce yourself and your okay. So you're just speaking what you believe. You're not speaking anything that is factual. That's Iman. You're not speaking anything factual. Paul says seatbelts, which you have to take that into consideration. But Iman, you're speaking what you believe. There's no fact. Now you don't know it. You don't know it. Prove your God. Prove your version of who is your God anyway. Who is your God? I don't want to make the assumption, but you sound like because I've been in debates before, and I could be absolutely wrong. You sound like a Hebrew Israelite. And every Christian says proof is their life. Every Muslim says proof is their life. Every Buddhist says proof is their life, their experiences. You know, their deity saved them this, taught them that, moved them this way, had some emotional response. You do realize that is the common thing that everybody says, that the proof of their deity is their life. That's what all religious people say. Religious, spiritual, whichever one you want to call it. So you're neither, but your life is not proof of your specific deity, because everybody else's life is going to be proof of however they define the all. And everybody can't be right and everybody can't be wrong. It's just different levels on the pole. And that's the thing, on the pole of God, everybody places themselves at different points. Oh, Yakub. So when I studied Islam with the Nation of Islam, they taught that there were, I believe, 7 scientists. Now, mind you, I'm going all the way back to 1991. There were 7 scientists, and these 7 scientists, one of them walked away. He had a problem, some problem. I forgot what the issue was. And he took some of the people, went up into the caves and started messing with those people. It's kind of like the Anunnaki story, messing with their genome, and not so much messing with the genome like the Anunnaki did, but forcing this person to have sex with that person to produce this child, and then have the 2 children. These 2 children get together so they can produce this child. And through that process of lightening the skin, he created all the races. And then when he brought those people back, they was accepted at first, but then the people started causing problems, because of course the black people was all living in peace, and then the white people came in and there was all kind of problems. And so then they kicked them out and they went up to the Caucasus Mountains, and that's how you got Caucasians. So that's from what I can remember, that's the basis of this Yakub story. As a man as flesh, I am son of source, and so are you. I do. I can agree with you there. But where I can agree is that there is that, like, things like scripture is telling me it's something I need to believe in. I don't need that scripture. and you still haven't identified who you're saying God is. Now, if you know who God is, you shouldn't have a problem saying who God is. We is the known existence in a holographic quantum law of physics of the right brain initiative, intuitive insight to achieve a complete, comfortable grasp of life concept. That's a scientific way of saying we all exist as a energy within the mind of the all. From if I'm understanding you correctly. No one knows the true name. Well, I would agree with you on that one. It's just like, but how do you identify who the true God is, though? If you're using the Bible to identify the true God, then you're saying Yahweh, Jehovah. But like the Tao says, the way that can be named is not the way. That the way is both named and nameless. And to name it is only to see it based on what your perceptions of what you can see. There's that's not a good argument. I ain't trying to be all on your case, Iman, but to say yet you live and exist is not a good argument for someone who says there is no God. Because life can exist. That doesn't necessarily mean there's a deity that created that existence. So those that really doesn't work. It doesn't. To say that there's a God there, that's if I exist, there must be a God. That's the God of the gaps. Because we don't know how we fully came into existence, God of the gaps doesn't work. So there has to be something more definitive. As far as me, I accept that I accept intelligent design because of the complexity of evidence and all that sort of thing, because of natural law and all that. But just in the same, there could be no intelligent mind. It could all be a manifestation of the singularity and energy just expanding and expanding and becoming more and more complex. And that is a possibility because when you look at the most powerful telescopes, the further out in the direction that the universe is expanding in, the less complex solar systems become, galaxies become, the less complex solar systems are. So the less complex solar systems are, then the less complex galaxies are, until it comes to a point of almost of just energy, masses of energy and nothingness, right? So it very well could be no intelligent design, but just the longer time goes on, universal time goes on, not Earth time, but universal time goes on, everything becomes more and more complex. So there may not be an intelligent design because there is some evidence that would suggest that time and expansion is the intelligent design. The puddle. See, Paul, I thought that you might agree with that one right there. You kind of confusing me now, bro. Because I thought that you would agree with that one. Because I know that you don't believe that there is any deity, at all. So, that would just suggest the singularity happens, which happens repeatedly. And then there's an expansion, and then things pretty much just evolve and become more complex. And yeah, that would start from a puddle. Well, yeah, I would have thought you would agree with that, Paul. Now I'm really confused about what you think, Paul. The Christians got you kicked off TikTok. I'm thinking the trans community got me kicked off live TikToks until the 31st. I think they got mad at yesterday's conversation. Now, we all do derive from pure energy. Whether that energy was divine is a whole nother case, because that energy would neither be malevolent nor benevolent. It would just be, because it would exist on the same pole. So on one end of it is malevolent, one end of it is benevolent. It's the same, but it's the same thing, and there are thousands of degrees in between. So it is not separated. There's this good God and this bad God. It is all just one. There's this good energy and this bad energy. It's all just energy. It depends on its use. What's the no, Paul? See, I'm not saying designed. When I was saying that about the singularity, there is no design in that. That is just, it just happened. Life is a right consciousness into its complexity. Yeah, the universe does just consistently recycle. We don't know how many universes have existed, how many singularities have occurred. There could be multiple singularities all colliding, you know, throughout the universe. Any dark space, dark matter that is found could just be another singularity that has come back into the big crunch and is at some point will explode out again. You know, it's like a whole bunch of balls inside of a case, and you shake it up and the balls just go all over the place. But we can see that in the universe that we're existing in, an outward expansion in all fourth dimensional directions. And no matter which direction we look at, the further you look, the less complexity is there. Yeah, if it's divine, then you are divine. But see, here's the thing about divinity. I don't think it matters if there's an intelligent mind at work or not, because you, being a conscious being, choose to be divine or not. Rashad Jamal, I don't know who that is. You understand what I'm saying? First Lady. Yeah, I remember it, First Lady Erica. There could be absolutely no proof of any deity whatsoever. But the only thing that makes something divine is who you are. Who you are makes you divine. It has nothing to do with any religion, any scriptures, any deities, any demigods. Divinity is something that comes from within. Period. No other place. If a person needs a divinity in order to be divine, then you are not divine. You got a problem. Because if you ever lose that, then what do you become? You're a pawn. As we was talking about in the law of cause and effect, the law of causation, which is cause and effect, you are now just the effects of whatever someone else's causations are. And see, creation is divine. I don't think that creation is divine, because there are many things that have been created that I personally don't think are divine. Is a flea divine? Is a virus divine? Right? No. A virus simply destroys without purpose. I can at least give a fly some level of divinity because a fly has a purpose. It helps remove dead things and refertilize, so that things can be reintroduced to the earth and that sort of thing. I can give a vulture some level of divinity because it clears away dead things. Otherwise, you got dead shit all over the place, right? Um, but a virus, no, all it does is destroy. Perfectly healthy being destroys it. Perfectly healthy cells, it just destroys it. No, so all creation is not divine to me. Divinity is whether or not you make yourself divine. The only truth, yes, the only truth when observed. Yeah, only when it's observed. No, all that is in nature doesn't have a purpose. There's no purpose. If I was creating, if I was creating, I would not create viruses. There was no need for viruses. Viruses just destroy. Maybe not at your level, but it lives on this level. If you were to reduce to its world or state of being, maybe you would see it differently. I see people as a virus too. The reason why I understand what you're saying, Erica, I get what you're saying because I've said it plenty of times that humans are a virus on this planet because we seem to just consume and destroy. But at the same time that we consume and destroy, we have to, that is all done by choice, right? That is all done by choice. I have yet to discover where viruses make choices, where viruses say, I'm not going to kill this cell. This cell looks pretty good. I'm going to go kill that cell. That cell looked pretty bad. Um, no, I don't think I'm, okay, you're saying I'm misusing cause and purpose. I'm saying that viruses don't have any purpose other than to destroy and destroy a perfectly healthy cell. Humans have the choice to be able to choose whether or not to destroy something that is good. Like we're destroying our oceans, right? Like I know they talk about meat more than anything else, but we're literally the fishing market, fishing industry. We're destroying the ocean. You destroy the ocean, the planet's gonna die, right? So, but we do that by choice. We can choose not to. Viruses don't choose. From everything that I've researched and everything that I know about viruses, and I could be wrong, but viruses don't choose. What up, Raquel? We don't understand their level of choice, and that is possible. It's possible that they do have a level of choice, but we just don't understand it. I can concede to that. And humans do corrupt the balance of nature. And some people have said that viruses are there because it is the anti-human formula. Um, but let's be real. I mean, the Native Americans, the indigenous Americans, were living here, and they weren't living in big cities, and they they didn't have all the viruses that the Europeans had. The Europeans were living all clumped up together in cities, and when you have too many people living in an area without systems to maintain good hygiene, you become a breeding ground for viruses. The Native Americans, eventually they would have done the same thing over time, but they might be just now doing it now, maybe, but they didn't. So when the Europeans introduced themselves, it was like viruses and it killed off a whole bunch of them. We created the condition for viruses to be active just by living out of balance with nature. I will give you that. Whereas you had the indigenous people over here were living in balance with nature and they didn't suffer through many of those things. Civilization creates an imbalance to be honest. Civilization creates imbalance. So you can say viruses serve a purpose of trying to get people to live in balance with nature. I can concede to. I can get down with that. I can get down with that. And maybe that's not the maybe that's the understanding that I needed to think about in order to see a purpose for viruses. Now, there are certain things though that's like mosquitoes. And this is just a personal thing. This is nothing. If I would have made mosquitoes, they wouldn't attack humans because goddamn mosquito, anything that bites like that, mosquitoes, fleas, ticks, and all that, that should just be for the purpose of whatever other animal they're supposed to be messing with. Leave me the hell alone. And you just verify God. This verified is strong. Hypothesize, estimate, I can get down with that. Verified, no. That's why I do think that there is an intelligent mind at work. But when you just say God, the God is like, whose God are you talking about? That's the problem with religion. That's why you have these raptures and all these apocalyptic writings, because whose God? The only true. Who is that? Who is that? Recognize people have to. This is also a problem with people. People have to have a pathway. They have to be able to define things. If you just walk around saying, "Oh, the one true God," no matter who you call it, then people can worship God, live their life, create rules, religions, spiritualities in whatever way they choose. And what if I choose that I believe in this one true God and I need to sacrifice babies. I believe in this one true God and people who don't look like me are subhuman to me, so I can enslave them. You see, when you leave it wide open like that, you're creating a situation where people can make up whatever they choose, whatever feel comfortable to them, or whatever they feel is beneficial to them. Yeah, I know they're helpful in balancing life, but god dang, stop attacking me. I live in Georgia. You know, it's just goddamn mosquitoes. And I understand life is to be praised. You say that today. But the Aztecs, life had to be given in order to appease the god. The ancient Israelites, babies, your firstborn, had to be sacrificed in order to appease the god. As we on Tuesdays are reading through the Bible, the slaughtering of all these animals have to be given to appease this God. And if life is to be praised, how much life should you consume? And he's saying that was not the true God. So Janus, the priests in Janism, they say that all life is precious. But see, you got to go beyond just the Levant Iman. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm bringing up Janism right now. There are many gods. I found that out. Yeah, there are tons of gods. Viruses don't hurt nature. People do. Yeah. I know. I just don't like viruses. These are personal things. But in Jainism, do you know a Janus? If you ever look at a priest in Jainism, they walk real slow as to make sure that they don't step on an ant or something like that. They wear face coverings to make sure a gnat don't fly in their mouth. They hold life so precious that other people have to make their food for them, because even killing a plant is disrespecting life. So where do you draw the line of life? if you drew the line and said that life is precious, so should you not consume any life? Should you not kill any life? These people, they might have sacrificed, but you sacrifice plants and possibly animals so to consume. So you're saying that the slave worship and glorified the slave worshiped and glorified the slave master. So that was part of life too for them. For them, because that's what they taught. They were taught that. If you were born in the 1700s in America and you black, you would have been taught from your parents, from all the elders, and from the white man, the Caucasian, that you are the curse of Ham and Canaan, and you were born to be a slave. You should be a slave, and you should be thankful that you're a slave. You would have been taught that, and most people believe that. Most people believe whatever they were taught from birth. The majority of people don't think for themselves. So yeah, the slave did believe that. Most slaves believe that. And then as time went on and abolition and became more and more popular, they started looking different. They started thinking differently. That statement may sound crazy, but we as humans can be a destructive force on the earth, and we can be a positive force on earth. We can. That's why I say divinity is a choice. You can choose to be you can divine just means good. You know, you're a good person. You're really great. It doesn't mean you're better than anything else or anybody else. Are you into some of the Gnostic and Egyptian teaching? It's pretty cool because they are rare books of the serpent side of the story of the Bible. Yeah, I do read. I have read a lot of those and do still study and read some of those. We're actually going through the Gospel of Thomas starting on tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow's Thursday, right? Yeah, starting on tomorrow. But yeah, let's what. No unnatural death or harm to life is glorious. The beauty of life. So, unnatural harm. If you pick some plants, is that a natural harm or unnatural harm? Life creates life and sustains life. I mean, think about it. There's a difference between a corn stalk and you're pulling out the fruit of the corn, which is the cob, and chopping chopping the whole damn thing down. There's a difference between pulling an apple off a tree and and pulling, some cabbage out from the roots. The tree, you're not killing the tree. You're just taking the fruits of the tree. But when you take the whole cabbage out the ground, you're killing the whole cabbage. So to sustain your life is just. And I'm not condemning. I'm just saying there's the differences. That's the differences that people have thought. If you grew up Janus in Jainism, pulling up the cabbage, even though it's to sustain your life, is seen, you got to make amends for that. But the priests have to have somebody else make the food for them because the priest can't do any of that. So if I say, if you go deer hunting and you shoot a deer and you eat the deer and consume it, are you, so that's okay because you're sustaining life? Oh shit, I think that was the VA. I called him back. Unnatural comes in when there is a unnatural blood sacrifice. There was no need when all was given to sustain life. I know you're basing yours based on the Bible. So if you're basing it on the Bible, then you're going to look at the Garden of Eden. Then after the Garden of Eden, you're going to look at Noah when he told Noah that now I give you all the beasts of the field for food as well. And so it's food. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat. You can't pull up plants and eat plants and all that. It's just when you talk about life, all those things have life. You're on your way to the VA right now. Yeah, they pulled a couple of teeth back here, and I know they got to put in some new ones. So I'm pretty sure that was that call was for. Not just the Bible, all true scriptures have truth. They all have some truth. But when you say all scriptures, do you include the Vedics, the Bhagavad Gita? Do you include all of them? Because most of the time when people say scriptures, they're only talking about Abrahamic stuff. And generally, they don't even talk about the Quran. Most people just talk about the Torah, Talmud, and the Bible. And what about all those things that are outside of it? Even a lie has truth in it. Yes, it does. Most lies, the root of a lie is a truth most of the time. Who is the one true God? I don't know. You? I would never try to define what if okay, so if there is a creative mind at work, it's undefinable and it's unknowable. So no one can define it. No one can truly know it. The closest you can define it and know it is the knowledge of self. That's the closest you're ever going to get to being able to have even a speckle of a definition or of a knowing. It is to know self, to know true self, and to raise your consciousness. The more you raise your consciousness, the more you will get to know. But your knowing and description, defining that deity, that mind, because it's not a deity either, that mind, no matter how much you can conceive and receive, it would only be like a drop in the ocean, you know, because the anything so infinitely complex to manifest this entire universe is too big to define. So we can try to define it all day, but the only trueness is discovered when you know who you are. You get deeper into you, because and you got to go beyond where you can let go of things like race, nations, tribes, the human body. Is beyond all of that. Like, I deal with race because I am existing in this matter plane, but I recognize that it doesn't exist. So I have allegiance to the cause of Black people, to the point of having equal opportunities, to being able to live a prosperous life without somebody else hindering you. But that is where my allegiance stops. My allegiance doesn't go to we were greater than other people, we are better than other people, we're more spiritual than other people. Fuck no, none of that. That's man shit. That's low level, low vibrational stuff right there. All you're doing is transferring the oppression that was put on the people that look like us, our ancestors, and transferring it over to somebody else, which makes you no better than them. So for me, equality, that's where I go. That's where I stop. Equality. And I just recognize that in this current state of civilization, we ain't gonna get it until we all join, until we start supporting each other and build economically and live together and things of that nature, because that's what this power respect. But as far as beyond that, my allegiance stops. The black man, black woman is no more spiritual or connected to source than anybody else. You think people would kill themselves if they knew the truth of our existence? I think you would lose your mind. Yeah, I think it would be it's too much. It'd be overload. There would be so much of an overload that our mental capacity couldn't handle that much information. You know, you'd be like a 486 computer trying to download my phone. You just can't. You can't. Oh, some of y'all might be young, may not know what a 486 computer is. Precise. We will create heaven upon earth in our acceptance of all life as one. We could, to a certain degree. There's always going to be those who are on the opposite side. Unfortunately, a utopian society is an impossibility because you would have to get rid of greed. Commodore 64, that's what I'm talking about, Slaughter. Ah. I don't think we can ever create a utopian society because there will always be those who are marginalized, and there will always be those who are, let me rephrase that. There will always be those who self-marginalize. Because I'm sure, I don't know how old you are, Iman, but I'm sure you've lived already long enough to see that you can give 100 people the same opportunities, and there are those who just won't take it. They just won't do it. They just won't. There are those who just want to be taken care of. There are those who just don't want to work for anything. And those people generally start to feel marginalized because a true utopian society, everybody's not going to be living equally in no society. And you're going to have those who desire to have more, but not willing to do what's necessary to have more. You know, yeah. I understand the cosmic law of mirrors, right? That's why I have a very small circle. That's why when people like hit me up on something, be like, "Can I get your number?" I be like, "Here's my coaching program." Because, Bobby Hemmett made a good point that all humans are devourers. We have to eat other living things to survive, whether it's plants, fruits, or meat. Um, the same can be said for other animals. Yeah, and we all consume. That's the natural cycle of life. I wasn't condemning that taking of life. Now I do condemn it when you're taking life to as praise and worship for some deity. Like even the grain offerings, I think is jacked up. If you're not, and you're gonna burn it, it's not used, it's just burnt. That's bullshit. You know, uh, if life is not being used to sustain other life, then that life should not be taken. Period. Yeah, it shouldn't. And then we overconsume. We overconsume constantly. think the only difference is that humans have a choice on what they want to eat. I think the best thing to do is to honor the food and eat in balance. Um, because you take on the energy of the food you eat. And yes, you do. And I think that's how we should be. You should only consume what you need. Actually, that's one of the teachings in the Tao, is that you only, I forgot exactly how it's written, um, but you basically only take what you need. You only receive what you, well, you don't take, period, but you only receive what you need. It changes. It doesn't use the word take, but you only receive what is needed to sustain life. Um, no more. Now, of course, we are humans. One of the things about Buddhism and Taoism is to eliminate desire. And in order to have that utopian society, you're going to have to eliminate desire. Um, because did I need a Mustang? No. I desired a Mustang. It's probably my favorite car. Could I have gotten a Prius? Would a Prius get me do everything that I need and cost less and use less energy, use less gas, but still do everything that I need for it to do? It certainly would. But I like Mustangs. So we have to get rid of desire to have a utopian society. But and that's in the scripture pertaining to the wheat and this separating of the wheat from the tars. That's also a separating people who believe what you believe and those who don't, and maintaining a separation from those people. I don't think we should separating people. You know, the creation of ghettos was originally the separating of undesirables from other Anglo-Saxon white males, because ghettos were created for the as far as recent history in America, it was created for the Irish, the Scottish, the Germans, then the Jews, and then black people. They created ghettos. Even before that, the Romans created the Greek quarters and the other places like that to separate themselves from them. Like that yelling. And then, but throughout history, we've always tried to separate ourselves through economics or race or genders and all that sort of thing. This man outside yelling, he mad about something. I don't know what he mad about. He was walking towards my car at first, but going somewhere else. And even like the Spartans, if a baby looked kind of crazy, they separate, they kick that, they let it die. That was the projects in the ghettos. Yeah. Oh, you from Gary? Oh, that's right. You are from Gary. We talked about that before. Yeah, I mean, but all societies have a history of doing something of that similar nature, of separating people, creating their own versions of a caste system, whether it's based on your tribe, your nationality, your race, or something. Not everyone is human. Not everyone is human here on Gaia. We have starseeds who are not human, who have a higher level of consciousness, fifth dimensional, unlike beings, who have a third. I've heard that before, but I haven't seen any proof of that. I need proof of that. Because you hear like, oh, white people aren't human. You know, you hear the racist comments of white people aren't human. And you hear that would Floyd into the idea of those who have more Anunnaki blood, and Anunnakis are supposed to be from the Biru. I think they're just Younger Dryas beings who are from Earth. Yep, they throw the baby off the mountain. But as far as some of us are starseeds, I think some people are just more enlightened. And when we see a more enlightened person, we want to separate them from the rest of the humans and say that there must be something special about them. But there's nothing more special about them than the next person, because everybody can achieve enlightenment. Everybody can achieve it. You know? So I don't know. What the heck is this man yelling about? Literally, y'all, there's some dude outside. I don't know what he's yelling about. Yeah, pertaining to their will. You have to have the will to be enlightened. If you don't have the will to be enlightened, you never will be. Yeah, pre-Europeans are pre-African people. Yeah, I would agree with that. Everybody is pre-African people. The evidence of migration does suggest that everybody migrated out of Africa in various different time frames. What is this man? Oh, he's trying to get somebody's attention. By the time you start walking that direction, see, people crazy. This is why I don't like these. Now, you will hear me use the term human. When I talk about humans, I talk about people who are just staying in this little swing and are not looking to enlighten themselves. I'm glad you got Chris's attention, bro. Because God, dog, you getting on my nerves. Do y'all hear this man? Oh my gosh. So if you say source is natural and the mother nature, so natural would be mother source. I think source is both masculine and feminine energy. Not only will he not go walk, first he walked over that direction. Then I guess he had a bicycle and he just rode the bicycle over in that direction. So go up there. You know, if he looked, no, he's trying to get, he was trying to get somebody up there's attention. But for some reason, he just go all the way over there. Why won't he just go all the way over there? See, this is what I'm saying. This is why I call some people humans, because he's acting like a human, right? I'm not getting down with the starseed thing. I'm not saying that. I don't have enough evidence of that. But a logical mind, an enlightened mind, would just say, "Oh, I need to tell Chris we need to go this way." Instead of me yelling out here like a fool, let me go up to Chris. Hey, man, we need to go down here. We're in the wrong spot. I get you, man. Don't focus on the distractions. So one of the things that I do deal with is PTSD from being in the military and some of the things I went and saw. So I am always paying attention to everything that goes on around me. All the time. There is not a time. Even though one of the things, the only reason I don't normally sit in this chair, I usually sit over there. My back is to the wall. The only reason this works for me is because within the video, I can see that back door. Yeah. I was in traffic court yesterday. I was sitting in the back, in the corner, where I can see everything. So I'm always alert to everything. But I'm still here. Don't get me wrong. I have trained my mind to be alert to everything and still be focused on what I'm doing. It irritates some people, but because I'll work on my computer and other people are here in the lounge and I'll have a full-on conversation with them. But I'm aware of everything. I know women like to say men can't multitask, but I can't. Now he's not crazy. I guess he's working on something. with somebody or looking something. I don't know what he's doing, but he might be a little touched. But unless there's no Chris, there may not be a Chris up there. Maybe it's in his mind that there's a Chris. So that could be. But if I were to go out there and check on him, I would certainly put my strap on, because Georgia is a beautiful state. It's all right till it get cold. Anyway. I need to unlock this door. It's after 12 in case a customer walks in. Oh, well, y'all should have heard that knee crack right now. Somebody tried to kill me a couple days ago. So I hurt my knee a little bit. And it just cracked. I hate that sometimes causes my mind to make everyone a suspect. Yeah. But I have, because I'm like overly optimistic about most things in life, I let people prove to me whether or not they are an ally to my life or they're suspect to my life. So I will give people an equal opportunity to see what they can be, you know. And I don't give a shit about their words. I am more interested in their actions than their words. Move to South Georgia. Yeah, I'm moving to South Georgia. It's called Puerto Rico. It's called Puerto Rico. Not South Georgia, but Puerto Rico. But yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Your reflection, you see self in all. Yeah, you can see some of yourself in all things, in all people. I hate feminine and masculine, but the truth is more beautiful order and chaos. I don't mind using the term feminine and masculine because of what they actually, how they should actually be defined. Like when we was doing the law of gender a couple of weeks ago, even though somebody got on here and thought we was talking about how people are redefining gender as far as what they feel like, we were simply talking about the masculine energy being the instructions, and then the feminine energy being the nurturing, the manifesting portion of the two combined. You know, that's why I wear the ankh, because before it became a religious symbol, it's an alchemical symbol of the balance between your masculine and feminine energy, which is needed for the law of generation to create. Well, and that's how I only define masculine energy based on energy itself and spirituality. As far as gender, and this is what got us all caught up yesterday and got me kicked off TikTok, got me banned for 5 days, 7 days, whatever many days it is, 6 days, is that it ain't shit to do with how people are trying to redefine their gender today. And y'all know we got kicked off because we was talking about, I disagree that transgender women should be able to participate in women's sports. I realized that's the moment, that's the conversation that got us kicked off. Got us banded from TikTok for 7 days. That's who you know as an infinite mirrors experience. Law of mirrors will communicate to you and your embodiment of your infinite reflection of who you are in truth. I'm gonna have to look that up more, but you know, people, oh, my knee is hurting. Angelina, my knee hurting because you tried to grab me. So I'll tell y'all why my body hurt right now, because I keep mentioning it. We was coming from a date. Well, we did a double date, which we would never do again. Which I ain't gonna say never do again. I ain't gonna do it with them two. And I was running my mouth, miscalculated the last step, and missed that doggone step. I was falling down, but I had it. I was falling in a way to catch myself. But somebody decided, since they was holding on to my arm, they were gonna catch my arm. And as in my cigar video I did yesterday, she wrenched my shoulder. And then I banged my knee. I wasn't going to hit my knees because I know the issue there. And so, this shoulder and my lat hurt and this knee hurt. But it'll be all right. It didn't even start hurting until yesterday. And that was like 5-6 days ago. So, but, meditating, stretching, increasing the blood flow, focus on, my lymph system, repairing the damage. See, she over here on YouTube, y'all talking about her hand was caught. Her hand wasn't caught. She tried to hurt me, y'all, but it's all right. I know she was just trying to help. She was thinking she was saving my life. But anyway, but that is something though, because we have spent more time meditating and stretching, and even though I haven't been getting up doing a full workout, I've been doing like a little minor workout, and today, I'll do some push-ups all day, get the body right, stretch, put some good nutrition in to get the body right. Anyway, we know went so far off the subject matter, which always happens. But that's fine. I don't mind. That's what conversations do. They change. And that is why the truth is needed for all things pertaining to omni understanding. But see, here's the thing about truth. There is no absolute truth and there is no absolute lie. There is truth and there is a lie in every truth, and there is a truth in every lie. Everybody coming into agreement. That's not gonna happen. Right? People will perceive the first problem. People are born into a truth of what they believe to be a truth. To convince someone something different takes normally either a tremendous amount of education that they have to be open to. Yeah, more doubt. No, it's not doubt. It's reality. It's reality, Iman. If you went over to, say, Dubai, and if you went over to Dubai and you start speaking against Islam, they're going to kill you. That's the first thing. They're going to imprison you or kill you, because it is punishable by death. But so you would have to be able to go and convince the leadership of Dubai to open their minds. And these people have grown up, born into their religion. Their life experience has shown them that them following Allah is the truth. You're going to have to convince them otherwise. Now, the way that most countries were convinced, or most large people groups were convinced otherwise, was through violence. Violence. So unless you're going to go over there violently to change people's minds, you're not going to change everyone's mind just through evangelism. It's not going to happen. Because when people are born into something, they usually stay with it. Do you know how many, when I used to do debate shows with Kevin years ago, we could show a person all the contradictions in their Bible. We can show them all the mistranslations. We could show them all the roots of where their messaging was coming from, right? Had to catch me who missed my blessing. Oh, whatever. And we could show them all of that. Yet they can't let go of what they were taught. The most productive way to change people's mindset is through violence. And then after the violence, you teach their next generation, and that generation will walk in whatever you have decided is the truth. Without that, only other thing, some cataclysmic event would have to happen. Like Yosemite would have to explode, and the caldera that's under Naples would have to explode, and all the world's governments and religions are thrown into chaos, and we return to an apocalyptic time frame. Is after this apocalyptic time frame, we return to these small tribal groups, because most of the people on the planet has been killed off, and whoever becomes the leaders at that time frame will establish what the truth is. Beyond that, you could have the most charismatic person on the planet, and not everyone is going to follow that person. You could create a near perfect society, and still you're going to have your religious people who follow a different belief that they believe is the truth, and everybody should be following them. That's not doubt. That's just the way that's just the way the mind works. Because everybody's going to base their truth on their experiences, on their culture, on their inheritance from their family and their community. Everybody's going to base their truth. Most people are going to base their truth on that. And for the ones who change, it's because they were either had something major happen in life, or they were an open-minded person. But even that open-minded person oftentimes get to a point where they start believing that their truth is the only truth. Religion is now grooming to reject all science. In order for religion to survive, they're going to have to, just like they did in the so-called Dark Ages, they're going to have to begin rejecting science, because the science is moving so fast now. New discoveries are happening all the time. And hell, they were trying to say that there were no civilizations, that the Mesopotamia, the Sumerians, and the Kushite people were the first civilizations, but they found Göbekli Tepe existing longer than had to exist. There was a civilization that existed prior to the Sumerians. They haven't identified what that civilization quite was yet, but it's definitely older than the Sumerians. And for some reason, and I think the Younger Dryas is the reason, they built this complex and then buried it. And I think they buried it because the Ice Age was coming, and they said we're making a time capsule of our previous society that was in existence before the Sumerians. And the Sumerians could have came out of that group. We should become leaders of self, that we won't be followers of that which is not beneficial to our lives and the lives we create. Yeah, we should. But the complexity of that whole situation, because once a group becomes too large for the land that they live on to take care of them, and they desire resources, they go and they conquer someone else. Because of those who seek immortality when it was already given. I will say that your consciousness has immortality, but the body does not. The body has never had immortality. Without science, religion wouldn't thrive, and vice versa. I think, and I believe if Paul is still on here, he would agree with me. Science can survive without religion. Science can survive without religion. You don't need religion for science to survive. Because science is always testing and retesting, and just looking for facts. Religion requires belief in what science has proven. I am deaf and need CC words to understand you. Can I do that on here? I know after the broadcast it normally has it, but is there a way to do that on a live? Because I would click it if I knew how to do it. Shit, I don't know if Cheyenne. Does anybody know how to do that on Facebook? Let's see, what is that? That's for tap the show button to refer to the link during the video. Nope. That's for a link. Those are stats. These are effects. I don't see anything that says closed caption. Let's see. Does anybody know how to add closed caption to Facebook? Let me know. I think I'm going to have a customer real quick, but he's going to be in and out. How you doing, sir?
Good, so?
Pretty good.
Good. Refresh my memory. Buy three, get one?
Yeah, buy three, get one.
As long as it's slow. Slow on the draw here.
Just as long as it's not the black and yellow LCA boxes.
You got it.
Those are limited cigars.
You got it.
All right.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah, he's going to be in and out. He never stays. Immortality was given through the seed, children, and reproduction. I know people like to say that that's immortality, but that's not immortality. That's just passing. That's my children are a whole nother conscious being, separated from me. Have some of me, but separated from me. This person, this body. Immortality is this body living forever. Because think about it. You have billions and billions of people who have lived and died, and nobody remembers them. True. Their DNA is part of someone else's DNA. I am carrying the DNA of millions of people, but I don't know none of them. Their consciousness is not part of that. Their consciousness might be in here somewhere, and every now and then I tap into it. But that motherfucker ain't. They not this alive. That's immortality to me. My definition of immortality is you surviving. Sumerians. So there was another civilization before the Sumerians. Wow, I didn't know. Go and look at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. They're still discovering more and more and more from that spot, from there. So settings, accessibility, subtitles, and captions. All right. Let me see what I can do for you, Cheyenne. Settings. I don't see the settings button on here. I think that's something that I would have had to done before I started this one, because I don't see where I can change the settings. Wait a minute. Let me see. Oh, science has a abundance of material to prove wrong. I'm with you. In that understanding of it, I got you. I see what you're saying there, bro. But the immortality to me is definitely I have a different thought process on immortality. It's nice to think about, my children living and them, me living through them, and then the grandkids and I don't have any grandkids yet, but great grandkids and all that. So humans are not special. All right, I'll be right back.
Check and see, make sure I didn't mess up here.
No, you good. You good.
Okay.
Have you had these?
I think I have. Not the caffy. Is it caffy?
Yes, caffy.
I haven't tried those. But I think I had this one. GTOs.
Yeah, the GTO 10-year Maduro.
Yep.
Yeah, I like all of these. I'm actually smoking this one right now.
Okay.
Maduro.
Uh-huh.
But of course, I like all of them.
Yeah.
I can't say I like every cigar, so I won't lie to you. But it's a cigar I don't like.
I'll tell you, there aren't many that I can say I don't like. You know, and all the ones I've gotten here have been fine. You're my exclusive place. And you're
I like that.
you're a little lighter today. On usually you had that full in there.
Yeah, we're working back on that.
Working back on it.
Yeah, to get it back up to
Yeah.
because you're used to seeing the 250 boxes.
Yeah.
We're headed back in that direction.
Okay. No, that's I love coming here. I'm not disappointed with the cigars I get here. So.
And as long as you keep doing that, we'll be able
That's
to get
right.
that
Yes, sir.
inventory back to 250 boxes. Then once we get 250 boxes, we'll do some more expansion.
Sounds good. Sounds
I
good.
want to carry somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 700 cases.
Okay. Uh-huh.
We're going to take this and extend it all the way out to here.
I
Move
see.
it somewhere else.
Yep. Yep.
It's going to be 44.52.
You got it. Okay. Put it right on my card here.
My plan is to have one of the largest inventories in the city.
Okay.
Then after we hit the 500 to 700, we'll figure out a way to up it to about a good 1,500.
Well, I'm glad you're going to be around for the future here,
That's the plan.
and we look forward to it.
All right.
You have a great day.
You gotta keep telling people to come over here too now.
I sure will.
All right, appreciate it. All right. I'm sure y'all kept talking to each other while I was gone for a second there. You believe that humans and other animals and bugs and those things were here billions of years ago? I think that there were other civilizations that was here prior to our current 12,000 year civilization. 8,000, 9,000 year civilization that's here right now. They may not necessarily look the same, but I do think that there were civilizations here, and that there have been civilization destroying events that have occurred multiple times. And eventually our form of civilization will be destroyed or die out, and some other civilization will come up, and there'll be some guy or being that is saying that, yes, 30,000 years ago, there was a higher technological civilization that was in existence. We just don't have any remnants of them because we found a place. It might have been called New York or London or something. I'm on Facebook on my laptop, seeing if I can go into the settings of this live. I can't do it on my phone because this is on my phone. Facebook is on my phone over here. And I see where it says settings, but it doesn't allow me to click on it. Hold on, so I'm working on it, Cheyenne. I'm working on it while I'm still running my mouth. And I got to look up every now and then. There have been proof that direct extent filmed the moon landing. No. There's been allegations. There ain't been proof that Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing. What's your proof of that? What's your proof? I don't usually get into the moon landing was fake thing. Do I believe that the American government had the capabilities to fake a moon landing? Of course. Do I believe that they would fake a moon landing? Yeah, I think they would. Is there proof that they faked the moon landing? Not so much. Not so much. Because everything I've seen that was proof has been debunked. See, man, you trying to create a whole nother video talking about some moon landing. And I'm not an expert on that. I saw enough that I was like, okay, I'm good. In Detroit, there's a full city underneath it. I wouldn't be surprised that if there was a full city under Detroit. I'm sure if if they were able to use the best technologies, sonographic technology, earth penetrating, that we will be able to find other civilizations that have existed prior. But one, we have to know what to look for. It's right now what they mostly look for are things that are earthen. Like that's why they're able to find Gobekli Tepe, because they're looking for rock formations, rock building formations. They do not have okay, wait a minute. Okay. They have not gone out to outer space, but to the outer lands and space of what is water. Are you a flat earther, Iman? Because then you have to say the Russians also fake sending things to the moon. Because although I'm a truther and knower, do you believe in a flat earth? You know what I mean, dude. Come on, don't be that guy. You know what I was asking. There's a full city under Denver. A government installation is there doing human experiments. There are some facilities that are underneath whole cities. There are facilities under Atlanta that most people don't know exist. And the space station is fake. Yeah. Yeah, I guess no. It's okay, bro. You know the infinite planes. You been there physically? Actually, they clone Tyrone um, is what we're showing for movie night here Friday night. We project the movie out onto the wall out here on the outside patio that doesn't belong to us, but we use it anyway until somebody takes that space. Okay, Iman, I'm a very patient person, but you know, repetitive statements that have no meaning, more doubt, more doubt, more doubt. I ask you a simple question. Do you believe the earth is flat? I ask you a simple question. Have you been to these infinite planes physically? That's not doubt, dude. That's a simple question. All it requires is an answer, more doubt. I'm trying to avoid the answer because I know if I answer the question, then it makes it subject for criticism. So either you're going to answer it or not. And if you're not, then I'm not going to pay attention to you no more. It's quite that simple for me. I give you make some decent points and good points in some of your statements, but when you want to try this avoidance thing, it becomes quite irritating, and then that's when I ignore you. But I give everybody a fair chance. Like I said earlier, I give everybody a fair chance. But I don't do the this ain't court where you can I want to pick the fifth on this one, and you're not okay with that. So you're okay with making a claim, but not supporting your claim. Gotcha. I want a flat earther to explain how can you go from New York in a straight line and hit California. Yeah, you can't. It's called longitude and latitude on a curved sphere. I am not able to get into the settings. I think I would, Cheyenne. So on the next, on my live tomorrow, Cheyenne, on every other live hereafter, I will make sure that I go into the settings prior to creating the live on YouTube and make it have CC. But it won't allow me to do it while I'm currently doing this one. And I'm checking YouTube to see if I can change it while I'm on YouTube. And I don't think I can. Let me see. Let me edit details, that customization. Let me see if I can change it in YouTube, and then if so, you can go over to YouTube and it has and do it. So let me check these real quick on YouTube. This content's not here. I told you. What is this content? I see where it talks about closed caption, but it's asking me if I have a closed caption certification on YouTube. It says that it's stream language English, time and description English, but I know closed captions are not coming. They're not running. Y'all not getting closed caption on YouTube, are you? But I don't. Let me see. Let's see if that works. No, so y'all not seeing any closed caption on YouTube. The only place I've seen where it said anything about closed caption, it was asking for some kind of certification. I know that in post production, I'm able to add closed captions, but not while I'm doing it. So you make a good. I will look to be able to, I would look to do that on future videos, Cheyenne, where there's closed caption while I'm doing the video. I don't know if she got that. Hopefully you got that. That on all other videos, I'll try to have closed caption on them. I know when I upload videos, I've been adding closed caption, but it's not on here right now. You would that's a good point. So thank you for that. That'll make the videos a little bit better to have closed caption on them. Oh wow, I'm not debating you, neither do I respect you, but I value you and your life and your platform and that which you do for us as a whole pertaining to conversing. Wow. That's like a backhanded compliment. Oh, I do respect you. Okay, I was about to say I had to give pause there for a second. I'm misreading. No, it says I neither do I. Oh, I get. Okay, I see how you saying it. I got you. 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 Um, I got you. And that's. I don't mind being corrected. I do try to read everything fast because I'm looking at multiple screens. I don't think flat earthers are like arguing. I mean, I think flat earthers are like arguing with pastors when they get caught up and have to uh, elaborate, prove or elaborate. They stutter or have to go. Yeah, I don't argue with pastors and stuff. respect due. But we're gonna try to. I don't know if Cheyenne is still on here, but yeah, I'll do CC next time on the remaining videos. But wait a minute, what the dude who said something about the moon landing? Come on, Marcus. Where's your proof? How are you? Why are you saying that the moon landing was fake? I have a cousin in DC. Me and him used to argue about the moon landing all the damn time. Back in the 90s when he was in Belgium and I was in Germany. And it's all I can say about the moon landing. There are some things about the moon landing that do look fake, but there's a whole bunch of it that has a rational reason as to why some of the claims that they're making are not claims. I think the hardest thing is, one of the things that you can look at is, a lot of them like to talk about the Van Allen. I always want to say Van Halen, but the Van Allen belt. That's a sticking point. But except for the fact that the Van Halen belt, there's a gap that if you, and this is why when they fire the rockets, they even notice how they curve. They have to come out. They have to hit our atmosphere, the edges of the atmosphere at the North and South Pole. Those are the weakest point, if not of any radiation, of the Van Allen belt. If you're trying to go straight, and see, some of them try to talk about how they're going straight out. They're not going straight out. Yeah, of course, if you go straight out into the thick parts of the Van Allen belt, yeah, everything's going to die. But this is why going North or South Pole, which of course, if you look at the trajectory of rockets launched out of America and anywhere on the northern hemisphere, they always angle towards the North Pole. Because the Van Allen belt is weakest or not, or so minimal doesn't even matter at the North and South Pole. It kind of reflects the magnetic pole of the Earth right now. So there is a way to get into outer space and bypass the Van Allen belt, as far as my low level of astrophysics are concerned. The Van Allen belt would be the thing that would say, ain't no damn body up there. Now, satellites, space stations, all those things, they are circling the Earth beneath the Van Allen belt. So they are in the earliest parts of space. The USSR, they flew around the moon and they landed modules on the moon. So they would have had to fake it as well. And I think China has sent modules to the moon and all that. So they would have been faking. The Mars stuff would have all have to been fake. There's been a whole bunch of fakery going on. And that's an immense number of people that you got to get involved into the. How the hell we go from Rapture to damn moon landing? So you believe in a planet. This is only their distraction or distortion of the truth. Yes, I don't. I think the Earth. I know the Earth is not a perfect sphere, but it is a sphere. It's interesting. Most civilization, ancient up to today, talked about a sphere. Science shows it's a sphere, but yet this flat Earth thing comes out of religion. It comes out of religion. Nobody has seen a curve. You can't see a curve while standing on Earth. There is an impossibility to see a curvature while standing on Earth. You have to get out of the atmosphere to see a curve. Like your visual cannot see far enough wide to be able to see a curve. The enormity of the size of the planet is too big for you to see a curve. you'd have to be outside the atmosphere to be high enough to see a curvature. So nobody's going to see a curve while they're on Earth. The air balloon 10 miles is still not high enough, man. 10 miles ain't nothing. 10 miles is a 10 miles is me walking from here to the store across the street. 10 miles is nothing. Yeah, when the USSR, when they first sent their Sputnik satellite and all that, and then they sent the first monkey, they sent the monkey up first. The first monkey died. Because they sent, and then I think they died because they sent them too high into the Van Allen belt, and didn't know that there was a Van Allen belt at the time. Then the second one was a lower orbit, and it survived, and then that's when they started playing. That's when they sent us cosmonaut around the Earth. Curve law is 8 inches per square mile. I have to research curve law. I've never heard anybody mention curve law before. So y'all believe that that's a dome up above us, that there's some water up there. Yeah, they sent the monkey. Yeah, they did send the dog as well. No. Our natural laws of science that are going on this planet right now would not work if the Earth was flat, and if there was a dome over us. The sun would burn the shit out of us. Oh yeah, wait. Compartmentalization. Oh, wait a minute. Do you think the Earth is bigger than the government is telling us? I don't know whether or not the Earth is flat, or earlier maps in the 1500s, Antarctica was shown to be much larger land mass. It was shown to be larger, but it was also shown to be smaller. The Paris map shows that the Paris map makes you think that South America was connected to Antarctica. But as he said, he drew that based on other people's cartography. But it was wrong. It turned out to be wrong. For one, it's not connected. A lot of early map makers didn't have the same science that we have today. So things were exaggerated or done differently. Only very top guys know what's happening. The rest of the people think they are actually going to the moon. That's kind of like God gaps for me. True, there are a lot of information is withheld from people, but there's only so much information. The larger the scope of something, people are involved, the more opportunity for information to get out. A moon landing would be way too big. A flat Earth would be way too big of a conspiracy to hold. Why does it get colder when you go up higher? Because the atmosphere is thinner, so that when the higher you get, the less of the ability for the atmosphere has to be able to hold in the heat. The only reason the Earth holds in the heat that it does is because of the thickness of the atmosphere. So the higher you go in the atmosphere, the less thickness is there, so it can't hold the heat as much. So that's why if you strip away our atmosphere, the Earth will become cold and barren, because our atmosphere is actually bouncing that heat back to the Earth. So it's like a convection oven. But the higher you go, the less. This is why on the moon is colder, because it has a much thinner atmosphere. And so it doesn't have the ability to contain the heat. Shit. The Hennessy commercial shows you that it's come on, man. I'm not gonna go off a commercial. You got, come on, Joel. I like you, Joel. I mean, not Joel, my bad. No, am I saying it right? No, it's Joe L. The moon reflects light. The moon, the surface of the moon is like particles. Like you ever go like when you're on the water, the reflection of the sun gives reflections of the light. So does on a beach. Like a white sandy beach is bright as hell because it's glass like and it reflects the light. The moon has a surface that's similar to that. It reflects light. Now, if you dig under the moon past that layer of dust that's on it, the ground is darker, but it's reflections. Right. Truth is in plain sight. And it's the fact that it's glass-like material that reflects. Sun reflects off the earth. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. um, Compartmentalization is big. Nature is the source of our expression of it. Knowing nature, aka science, is as close as we can get to knowing source. Yeah, knowing nature knowing nature, knowing yourself. I think the Earth is a sphere. But somebody wrote something. Where is it? There it is. You can't see your fingertips with your nose pressed against your palm. So Dollar Will said, if you press your nose against your palm, you can't see your fingertips. Exactly, and you can't see your fingertips with your nose pressed against your palm. So my fingertips are not round; they're flat. If I'm understanding you correctly now, but when I did it, you can't see it. You're right. You only have a south, east, and a west. If the Earth was flat, sure, but it's not. You have a north. You have a north star, the compass, the magnetism of the planet. It drives the needle north. Right. The moon reflects light. This is why like they had to have the big reflection. So you ever go to like if you go to a beach and a white sand beach, you need some sunglasses because all that reflection, so still you can see. That's why they had to have the face shields so they can see. And that ambient light, because I know somebody gonna say it. Um, how were they able to take a picture in the shadows? And the shadow had you can see the astronaut because of the ambient light from the reflection of the moon is why you were able to see that. And depending upon what kind of lens you use, it allows you to be able to see a person in the shadows because of the ambient light reflection off the moon surface. Somebody gonna be watching this video going some, the rapture fake. Why are you talking about the moon? Well, I love y'all because we can go into some conversation, right? And that's one of the reasons why. Thank you, Slaughter. Okay, so if the Earth was flat, I have traversed the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere in a matter of days, and I went from summer up here in the northern hemisphere to winter in the southern hemisphere. You can't get that on a flat Earth. You don't get that. That would be your flat Earth model would then because the sun is supposed to be inside the dome. So summertime is circling like this, and then it's so the sun's rotation will be a spiral out and then it would have to have a spiral in. And we don't see that in none of the movements. We don't see a sun spiral out, spiral in. That's the only way you're going to get the differences between the outer regions of the flat earth compared to the inner regions of the flat earth. You don't get that at all. And then in order for that to happen, those the models, they got the second, you got the ice wall, then you got a second tier of oceans and lands, and then another ice wall, and it might have another oceans and land and another ice wall. I can't remember exactly. That sun would have to spiral way the hell out of here. So and maybe that's when we have our ice age, and they're in the ice age now, because there's no way that that land would be able to survive outside the ice wall and have green vegetation. In that case, unless you add another star, because some people are trying to say that we live in a binary star system, you have to have another star that only circles way out there on the outside. But telescopes, we'd be able to see that. We'd be able to see the second star. And it'd be as visible as this star, as our sun. So, Marcus said, what did the ancient Egyptians believe the shape of the earth was? They believed that it was a sphere. Who are the Knights Templars, and where are the Knights Oh, you are saying where are the Knights Templars? The Knights Templars was a bunch of poor knights who formed up, and they were broke, and so they decided, you know what, let's become a group, and we're gonna provide protection to people who the Europeans go into the Holy Lands, and then they start making some money off that, and they became bankers, and they created one of the closest to our modern banking system, and they became super rich, and governments was up under them, owed them money, and then they did have a religious order that was based on a fringe of Christianity, but then they became too powerful, and the King of France and the Pope got together and said, let's kill all their asses. And they raided the shit out of them, and then the Knights Templars dispersed and became parts of other societies, of other so-called secret societies. But that's pretty much a short synopsis on it, and that's also where we get Friday the 13th from, because it was on a Friday the 13th that they went in and raided most of the Knights Templars. And of course, they made up a bunch of lies to get the people on their side, saying that they was like pissing on the cross, worshiping the head of John the Baptist, and all these other things. With most things that can be seen or experienced, if we stand too close, size is exaggerated. Yes, it is. Or if we stand too far away, details are obscured. Perspective does matter, and perspective matters tremendously. Look, one of my favorite toys that I used to have, and I call it a toy because it was just a hobby, when I was living in Germany, because the air is clearer in Germany, and I can go out into the countryside easier where there's less light pollution. And me and my telescope used to have a really, 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 really good time. And I had a pretty good telescope too. I ain't had one of them little cheap, 100, and we're talking about like 93, 94, 95. That damn telescope cost me $700 that I had back then. So I can see some shit. And I'm looking at stars, and I'm seeing nebulas and all these kind of things that are not inside the dang on dome. Oh shit! Operation Paperclip. Is that Operation Paperclip? That's when they was grabbing up all the German scientists, and they can't. That's why I'm going to see that movie Oppenheimer. And they were using all the German scientists. The Russians grabbed a whole bunch of them too. Mother Nature is the first and greatest teacher of life. Through observation, gift, perception, we must have discernment. Yeah, Mother Nature is a great teacher, and Mother Nature is teaching that the earth ain't flat. Right. Flat Earth is an optical illusion. Look, I've been out on the water with the Navy in the middle of the Atlantic. You can see the only thing you can see. So if out on the Atlantic, boats wouldn't, if the Earth was flat, boats wouldn't sink below the horizon. All right. If the Earth was flat, they would just get smaller and smaller and disappear from sight. Right. We kidnapped Einstein. Kidnap is strong. We just made them an offer they couldn't refuse. We made them an offer they couldn't refuse. But the closest thing, do I think that there are undiscovered lands and things going on in Antarctica that the world is kind of don't want people to really know about? Sure. This is why you can only go so far into Antarctica before you are stopped and they will shoot you, right? What was the Admiral? Was it Admiral Byrd? Admiral Byrd information really fueled it, but Admiral Byrd's information is not really flat Earth information. It's more hollow Earth information than flat Earth information. Do I think that there is something going on in Antarctica? I sure do. Is it flat Earth proven? No. Hollow Earth? Possibly. And hollow Earth, we found civilizations that have lived deep in the Earth, but is it a hollow Earth? A hollow Earth? Nah. I don't think there's civilization living that the whole Earth is hollow. I was in the Navy, and yeah, you can't see past the horizon. You watch ships slowly sink into the they sink into the ocean. If it was flat, who said that? Albert. So Albert is with me. If they and you know, here's the thing about it. If they were flat, then the ship would just get smaller and smaller, and you'd be able to get on the binos and you'd be able to still see it, just getting smaller and smaller, even from the binos, being able to see further and further out. But even through the binos, they sink below the horizon, right? Right, it can't be hollow. Not only the radiation, the heat. The closer you get to the Earth's core, that damn heat. I mean, all that magma, you're gonna hit magma flows. Yeah, you burn the hell up. Right. Admiral Byrd said he flew into a hole, saw Crystal City and all that kind of stuff, and some other airplanes and stuff. That I am in agreement that there was a civilization prior to the Younger Dryas that had high levels of technology. Did they resolve themselves to live with somewhere within Antarctica that is past where we're able to go, where they allow people to go? Because we're able, they just won't allow. Yeah, I think so. Could that civilization be existing there and just watching and letting us do what we do and controlling some things, maybe, possibly controlling things, the whole Anunnaki controlling humans through bloodlines and stuff? Possible. But not a hollow Earth. Just like we had Native Americans who lived in cave dwellings. There's a huge cave complex, underground complex in Turkey that different societies have lived in. Can there be societies under the left paw of the Sphinx? Does it lead to a whole underground city that is 8 miles by 8 miles? I'm gonna say yes. And I'm not saying yes based on speculation on that one. But yeah, civilizations can live in underground civilization in big ass holes. But is it a hollow Earth? No. That's why I draw the line on that one. Oh shit! If I miss something on Facebook, it's so I don't know why Facebook scroll is irritating. I try to scroll back to see stuff, and it just doesn't let me do it. Yeah, volcanic. I've never seen a flat earther talk about volcanic eruptions. What do they say about that? Dolly, crazy. Some flat earthers need better weed. Better weed. I ain't gonna throw them out there like that. uh, no, even though the Egyptians have and you got to understand, Egyptians society lived for like what 2,500 years. So stories change, ideas change, right? But the story of Jeb and Newt doesn't indicate a flat Earth. That is just because they looked up and they thought that was water up in the sky. So they still thought the Earth was a sphere, but that just Jeb and Newt were so embraced that land couldn't be, that there was no land. So then Ra had a daughter Shu, and Shu is the wind, and she blew hard enough to separate Jeb and Newt. But it's not a flat Earth model. They tried to make it into a flat Earth model, but the Kemetic society shows too many situations where they said the Earth was a sphere. And according to the Emerald Tablets, this society was restarted by Thoth, the Atlantean, who became Osiris or Asar, and then he sailed off and flew off to start other civilizations, as well as other people in his party went and started other civilizations around the world. Have you seen the gods of Egypt? I refuse. I refuse to watch that bullshit. I threw something out and say no is limiting your way of thought. I don't know what you threw out. You might have to retype it because of all the inaccuracies of it. And I don't like when they whitewash the hell out of a movie like that. If you're going to do a historical movie, make the people look how they looked. Make it as authentic as possible. These jokers in here watch Exodus, Gods and something, Sons and Gods, or something like that. They were watching here. I'm glad that I had a customer that took me outside and I had to talk to this customer, because that was some his. Even if you're gonna make a biblical movie, at least make the shit follow your book. But no, it has some accuracies in it, but I don't like when they do that. Not just something that's supposed to be historic. If you're gonna say that these are supposed to be beings from this, it's supposed to be based on a people, then make the people look like the people. I love How to Train My Dragon, right? But they're gonna make the girl who's supposed to be Nordic, and they're gonna do a live action of it, and the Nordic girl is gonna be a mixed race little girl. I don't like that. If it's based off Nordic people, she needs to be a little blonde-haired white girl. If you throw something out and saying no ways, it's limiting your knowledge. If you're saying no based on some facts and stuff, no, then I don't think it's limiting your knowledge. You're just disagreeing because you got to have facts. I need facts. I know it's dragons. I understand what you're saying. It's a cartoon movie. I get it. Dragons, all that kind of stuff. I get that part. That you suspend at least a part of your belief. But when you're going to add historical information to it, make the historical information as accurate as possible. See, I didn't mind the Little Mermaid life version having a little black girl, because African civilizations, Central American civilizations, all have had mermaid stories. So mermaids can be from everywhere. You can make a mermaid any color whatsoever. It could have been, Ariel could have been a little Asian girl, and I would have been fine with it. She was the little white girl. I was fine with it, because everybody has, most civilizations have some type of mermaid story. But a Nordic girl is supposed to be white girl, a Caucasian. They show a flat Earth with the sun underneath us in the movie. That's what the Egyptians thought their Earth was like, as above, so below. It wasn't the sun that was below the Earth. It is a sun. It is a star that's supposed to light up the field of reeds, not the same sun being on a flat earth. Underneath the earth, they believe that the Asar's kingdom, which let me remind you, originally that was Anubis kingdom, but then when they came up with Asar took over from Anubis, and Anubis became your guide and judge at the end, where he sits on a council that if your heart is heavier than a feather and Horus comes and takes on your sins, so to speak, then Anubis and these other judges determine whether or not you are able to go into the field of reeds. So since they believed that it was underground, it was under the earth, it wasn't in space, it was under the earth, then they logically they put a light source as part of it. But that doesn't mean there is a light source under the earth. This is just what they believed in. There is no proof of that. But that was their afterlife. So their afterlife can't account for matter plane life. And then they believe when you went into the field of reeds, whatever kind of work and life you was living on the matter plane is what you would live in the afterlife. This is why when like I talk to people about hermetic science and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, I still don't agree with everything, because a lot of this stuff is still just belief stuff. No, it's not factual. Yeah. I love movies because movies will show you certain things, but of course there's, what is it called? Artistic licenses are very well taken, very much taken. I seen the same thing boats did indeed sink into the right. They sink into the horizon. I think some civilizations did live underground. There are some tunnels underneath Earth. Yeah, there are some civilizations that lived underground. We found some of them. That one in Turkey is amazing because they dug. The fact that they knew that there was a water table down there, and they went down there and they dug deep enough in this society to be able to gain that water table, the way that they was able to filter the smoke out from the underground site. And then many different cultures have lived in this underground city cave system in Turkey, depending upon what time frame you're looking at it. Oh, you can't hear me? Hold on. Let me turn this other one on. Thank you. Always let me know when the sound goes out because I have to change the microphone. But yeah, there are plenty of times where we found underground societies. Raquel said hey to all the people on Facebook. Oh, you switched over because Facebook was tripping. Yeah, I have to. These microphones only last about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then you got to switch them up. So it died at 2.5 hours, right around 2.5, 2 hours 45 minutes. Y'all can hear me now, Facebook, right? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Facebook? Let me know. Okay, good. Yeah, I switched the mic over. Wakil said we all need to get together and take a trip to prove the flat earth is wrong. Even if so we all got on a boat and then we watched other boats sink into the horizon. I forgot. I can't remember what they say about that. What's their explanation for the boat sinking into the horizon instead of just getting smaller and smaller to become like a little dot and then it disappears? Because that would have no sound again. I plugged the thing. Oh my goodness. You sure you can't hear me, Debbie? Iman said he can hear me. Okay. I plugged the thing in. I mean, I've seen where, people do the little ball thing and they do some water and they pour water on the ball and they're like, oh, see how the water just falls off? If the earth was round, then all the water will be slipping off and this sort of thing. I'm like, you're not counting centrifugal force. You're not including having an atmosphere. You know, our atmosphere and centrifugal force hold things together, and with gravity keeps it all together. You know, this is why the farther away you get from the core of the earth, you experience buoyancy and you're able to float. So if we had, so you have to get rid of gravity in order to have a flat earth, because if you had gravity, then the strongest pull of gravity will be at the center, right? The center of the earth, which would be what we call the North Pole, at the Arctic, right? Everything will be being pulled in that direction. We would have had to build structures and things that would be resisting that pull. And the closer to it, the stronger it would be. It'd be like a huge freaking magnet. Debbie, how you saying you can't hear me but everybody else can hear me? Iman, can you hear me? Albert, can you hear me? I got the microphone on. You say suspension. So what you're saying, Earth is flat. I'm here. This person is, Earth is flat. This is the center. This person is here. If there's gravity, this person is being yanked this way. We're all being yanked that way, but this person has an immense amount of pressure being yanked that way. There would have to be a big ass, even keel something under here that's pulling down perfectly down in all areas to keep everything in its place. What's doing that? What's doing that? What's and it has to be perfect too. It has to be perfect. Otherwise, we'd have anomalies where this is imperfect right here, and whatever's right here is being pulled in different directions. Or no, whatever's in here, if it's less, then it would be float. It'd be like what's that movie? With the blue people? Avatar, where they had the floating mountains. You'd have shit floating up in here if that was the case. You'd be here and you'd be able to throw a ball up and it goes higher than it would go if he was right here. If there was some type of gravity well that was down here, or suspension, as you say, right? But we know that that's not what's happening. It's not. And then the deeper you dig, when you dig, you would feel more pressure pulling you down, pulling you into. You would feel more gravity, so you would become heavier, and you like wouldn't be able. When people go down in caves, they would feel the heaviness the deeper that they go. Ghost Street Ministry. Have a great day. Yeah. So that doesn't work. That doesn't work. The science doesn't work that way. The way our natural science is functioning, that doesn't work. It would. There would have to be a new type of science that's going on. Thank you. Get a real relationship with Almighty God. Get a real relationship with your brain. And you have a blessed day. James Jones. No, actually, we weren't talking about flat earth today originally, sir. We were talking about the fact that the rapture is fake. And then we just have expanded into this conversation because I think Marcus started this. Because Marcus started talking about, oh, you said suppression. Oh, so it's above us. So there's something above us that's pushing us down. That's pushing us down. So then when you're on an airplane, you would feel more of that. Again, it's still going to work the same way. When you're on an airplane, you would feel more of that pressure pushing you down. Right? But you don't feel pressure pushing you down. You feel pressure squeezing you into yourself when you're higher up because of the atmospheric pressures. In the same way that when you go underwater, the density of the water, you feel more pressure pushing against you. Are you talking about suppression of information? Here I am reading too fast. My bad. You said suppression. You did say suppression. And my brain calculated suspension. Because I've heard somebody say something about suspension before. So that's why I went all balls out into suspension. Marcus, do you think to determine if the scientific theories the government gives us are true, we should prove it ourselves through the scientific method? We should try to question everything. Yeah, we should. And that's what other scientists have done. Yeah, scientists, every scientist on the planet is not working for the government. Now, there are some scientific achievements that are suppressed by government, that's suppressed by companies. If you're going to mess with somebody's money, they will do that. But you would have to be suppressing, every government in the world would have to be in agreement to suppress the larger scale scientific discoveries. So every government would have to be suppressing flat Earth. And these governments can't get into agreement with most things. They all say, oh, we're going to agree not to kill the ocean, but then they still go out and kill the ocean. Some governments like, hell no, we're going to do what we want to do. Within the planet, you know the word planet suggests a sphere, right? The net of plans, it is oppression and suppression. Yeah, I think there are some plans of oppression and suppression, but we going to oppress flat Earth? I mean, around Earth? Yeah, flat Earth? No. What's the purpose? That's one thing that I always have asked people with flat Earth. What is the purpose? What would be the benefit of all the world governments coming together and all the scientific community coming together to suppress flat Earth? What's the goal? What is achieved? If they use a smaller ball or less water, it would be more representative. Example, pouring a cup of water on a small ball is like the biblical flood. It doesn't rain large areas at once. Exactly. And when you use something, you can't create a model on the earth of the earth and try to say that this is a representation of the earth. You would have to, if you did, that small model with its measurements would have to be, you would have to create an atmosphere. You'd have to create the right amount of spin and all these other things in order to actually prove it if you want to put some water on it. And you'd have to put a core, you'd have to put all these things in a small model to demonstrate if the earth is round in this small model, based on the science that they say the earth has, would this water stay on the earth? And if you had a ball this big, that means the amounts of water is way, way, way less than a cup of water that you're putting on there. You'd have to have a big ass magnet in the center of it. Just having a globe that you bought at Walmart doesn't work. When you close out our discussion, what is it that you say? Oh, I always say you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. I understand. I read the information for and I read the information against. In all my reading and all my studying, the flat earth information does not overwhelm the sphere information. And anybody who disagrees with me always say, well, you got to go read this, and you got to go read this, and you got to go read this, you got to go read this. I'm just reading more information that's repeating the information I've already read. Now, I haven't in recent times seen anything new that flat earthers are talking about. And none of them have given, and I've yet to see one that gives a reason. That's the why of a thing matters. Excuse me. I don't like sneezing. Might lose my soul. Right, you have to create soil, evaporation. You have to create a whole atmosphere. I mean, you would be a creator. You would literally be a creator if you can do all that. Religion is engraved. Religion is engraved. Sorry, religion is engraved like our dark skins, that they must believe in something, and people do. People must believe in something. Listen, I talked about that yesterday. It is the fewer people that can walk away from a religion and then not have to have a belief system. But even to a certain degree, atheists have a belief system, not so much in a deity, but science becomes their belief system. Which is better because at least most of their things are backed up by some type of fact or a growing evidence of what may one day become facts. Do I denounce the greatness that they fear, that which is your becoming? Oh, I don't do that. I do think the government, the people in power, wants to keep everybody in an Adam and Eve kind of state, in a controlled environment, not knowing everything that's going on around them, not understanding everything, and just, hey, this is your job, go do your job, But that's still not telling me the why of suppressing flat earth. Like, what's the benefit? If they came out and said the earth is flat, what does that disrupt? What does that change? What economic benefit that they have now goes away? What power benefit that they have now goes away? Okay, the earth is flat, y'all. There's a dome over us. We've never escaped it. The sun is in our atmosphere. The moon is in our atmosphere. They used to say one of the flat earth thing was, oh, that's why there are no flights from the lower parts of Africa to the lower parts of Argentina, because it's too far away. Until I took a flight it was a long ass trip. I flew from Germany into northern Africa, to Central Africa, then in South Africa, and then over into Argentina, right, to the Falklands, and then from the Falklands to Antarctica. Yeah, took a flight, and I remember sitting on there talking about, and they said that there were no flights that go from South Africa to Argentina. Were there a lot of people on the flight? No. Was there a lot of flights? No, because there weren't a lot of people taking that flight. It's not. You see the flight pattern of what more people are paying for, the economics of it. But no, we flew from South Africa from Johannesburg to Argentina. Wade, what's up, Wade? You just better hope it's not real. Are you atheist and not a believer? Go out pushing your cult, and that's what it is. People without God in their life have no hope. That's why they have suicide rates so high. Bro, you do realize the suicide rate is higher in people who believe in a religion than suicide rate is for people who do not believe in a religion. That's an incorrect statement. suicide rate is every damn near every rate of negativity is higher with people who believe in a religion than people who don't. Just like the crime rate is higher in people who believe in a religion than people who don't. God doesn't make you less suicidal or less criminal. That's one of those lines that people use to make you think that you need your morality to come from some divinity. That you need that hope doesn't come from a deity. Hope comes from people having desires of a better life, of desires of having certain emotional, physical, material things in their life. That's where hope comes from. Hope doesn't come from a God. Earth flat or round, who knows? We would have to go to space to see the Earth and how it's shaped. We have to go way out there. But of course, flat earthers don't believe we've actually been outside of the atmosphere because they don't believe we can penetrate the dome. So has been done. What was it like? Well, it was cold as hell because it was wintertime. So it was cold in South. I left. It was summertime in Germany, and it was still, of course, warm in North Africa and Central Africa. Got down to South Africa. It was kind of chilly, and then the Falklands was cold as hell, and then Antarctica, of course, is freezing. It was freezing to me, and being a Georgia boy and hating the wintertime, it was cold. I was dying. I was like, this is bullshit. I was glad that I was only there for like 2 days, and then I left. Adam and Eve and Genesis is the matrix. It disconnects us from space, time, history, and reality. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that one. But Antarctica was interesting. I was only there for 2 days just to do a changeover. And I was part of a whole group, so it wasn't like I was so damn important. But just to do a changeover. Yep, religion is the cause of wars and kill a whole bunch of people. Right. Suicide can happen to people. It does. Religion has nothing to do with who commits suicide and who doesn't. I want to know what the hell what he's talking about. Religion is the cause of wars. They will kill or defend it. It was this story. I know a lot of people missed it. I can't remember how long ago it was, but you had a little rebel thing going on in Ethiopia, and where they have the church in Ethiopia where they're saying they have the Ark of the Covenant. Well, when the rebels were coming to raid this church, 80 unarmed people stood in front of this church because they was like, no, you're not going to take our Ark of the Covenant. We believe in this deity and all this sort of thing. And they stood there and thought that those people weren't going to do anything. And they massacred all 80 of their asses. And these people, that's the strength, but also the weakness of religion is that you're willing for a Ark of the Covenant that none of the 80 people have ever seen. They believe it's inside this church. This is the belief that they have. They don't know it's inside of there. They were just told this. And only one dude is allowed to go in there. And then when that guy dies, the next dude can go in there. His little apprentice takes over. And then that dude goes in. But they believe, these 80 people believed in that shit so hard that they went in there. They got killed. They got massacred. The same way, like I will go see. Y'all know I'm a movie person. I'm gonna go see this next Indiana Jones movie. But it is a real thing that the Third Reich was like Hitler was so enamored with religion that he was seeking out, you know, the Ark of the Covenant, the cup of Jesus, the spear of Charlemagne, which is supposed to be the spear that pierced Jesus in his side. And there's a whole legend behind that, that if you're, as long as you're holding that spear, then your armies will win. Like he believed, he had a whole division that was going out trying to find these artifacts. And not just that, he was looking for Thor's hammer and all these other things. Like, belief is a son of a bitch. If I believe I hold this hammer, this spear, we're going to win the battle. No, I think Patton and Montgomery and all them had something to do with your ass getting whooped. You know, and all those other people who went over there. I think planning and supply chains and all the other things that go into warfare has something to do with you getting your ass whooped. Fighting a two-front war against the Russians, invading them in the winter, that's a dumbass decision. All of that played a part. Oh shit. I read and saw a documentary that the Ark was out of plutonium. There is one of the beliefs, one of the thought processes on the Ark of the Covenant is that it's some kind of nuclear device that is also operated by sound technology. That was given to them by, and that would actually lend more into something being given to them by the Anunnaki. Not to mention that not to mention the European who plays Africa and changed their religion to what they believe should be believed. Yeah, through violence. All these Christians and Muslims in Africa are Christian and Muslim because in their ancestry, violence was enacted upon them. Oh, you're right. I use voice text all the time. It be messing up. Like I said, you have to wait for the window that they speak of for the launch. Yeah. You have to wait for the window. There's a window to launch, but are you talking about like through the dome? But there's a window of launch it's based on solar activity, sunspots, because there are certain, when there are more solar activity and sunspots, then the Earth magnetic field gets all crazy and more solar radiation is allowed and poured into the Earth. If you're escaping through the North Pole, then you have to do it at the weakest time frame of the Van Allen belt. And the Van Allen belt is stronger along the equator and then dissipates as you get closer to the pole. So the window is not a portal, like the windows of heaven open and the rain poured down. I seen Jamar. I haven't talked to Jamar in a long time. I seen Jamar Milton to do the water and beach ball trick, and he had such a high hopes for the brother. But after that, I promptly unfollowed him. I've been led astray enough. No, Jamar didn't do that, did he? I haven't talked to Jamar in probably a good about 6 years. He didn't do the water and the ball thing. You lying, Black Lands. Not Jamar. I like Jamar. Jamar was one of the few people that Kevin introduced me to that I like doing shows with. Jamar's cool. I mean, he's still cool. Don't get me wrong. But I still would talk to him, if we had a need to conversate or we was going to get back into doing things together. But I would talk shit to him though about that ball. Telling people to adopt a story that differs from the story told by their culture distorts reality, destroys history, and leaves people suspended in time and no attachment to their ancestors' mission. It certainly does. It certainly does. But that's what religion does. I mean, look, Christianity, Judaism, Abrahamic religions create racism and superiority complexes, and they didn't give a shit about those people's religions and belief. Hell, they went and changed the Hindu belief system. Even though the people got to keep they kept a lot of their Hinduism, they still went and changed it. They told the Hindu people prior to Europeans going there believed that there was one source, one primary, that Brahma was God, right? And that all these other minor deities are aspects of Brahma. The same way the Agdo is the all, and then Ra was the matter form personification, well, the lower personification of him coming out of the cosmic egg, and all other children were aspects, and they all reach back to aspects of the Agdo. What is it? Odomare is the all, and then all the other Shango and all of them, Oshun, are aspects. They were originally aspects of Odomare. But the Europeans go in and forces them to, and says, no, that's not what y'all's thing is. Y'all believe in a whole bunch of other gods. And after a generation of being forced to believe that, that's what you start to believe. And it wasn't done because they intelligently understood what the people were talking about and then said, oh, okay, so y'all really believe the same thing we did. Your aspects of Odomare, your aspects of Brahma, your aspects of the Ogdod is like the angels and the cherubims and the seraphims and all of them. So we talking the same thing. We still talking the same thing. The way we got a heavenly court when Job was in the story of Job is the same way y'all got y'all courts. It's the same thing. It's just using different names and some different concepts. And y'all's is still nature based. Ours has been more, mental, spiritual based. But we still can understand each other. Nah, that ain't how they did it. They went in like, oh, you motherfuckers worshiping all these other guys. Y'all going to hell. Y'all need to learn about Jesus. Oh, we don't want to learn about Jesus. Really? Who y'all want to learn about? Y'all want to learn about Jesus. I said Jesus, damn it. Didn't I say Jesus? Didn't I say Allah? I told you Allah. Allah Akbar. Say it. That's how it's done. And then we lose. You lose your history. Oh, yeah. The Atman. That's what you spoke. And even that part, they took away the Atman from the Brahman of coming into your higher self. Nah, I can't say to learn about Jesus is to learn to your higher self, because there are some aspects of, if you took to learn about Jesus from a Gnostic point of view, then I would agree. I agree there. But from the Orthodox, which is the primary, which is the Bible, not so much. Not so much. Because that Jesus in the Bible is still saying whether you're free or bondman, instead of separating and saying that nobody should be a bondman. He never gave women their due to say that women are just as equal to men. He didn't correct a whole lot of shit in that book that he should have been correct. She should have corrected. Now, there are parts where he's talking about, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and, you're blind from it and all this kind of. But from the Gnostic perspective, that version of Jesus in the Gnostic perspective, I can get down with you on that one, but not from that other book. I like Jar. Yeah, I can't believe Jar did the ball thing. I'm gonna have to go find that, and then I'm gonna call him and talk shit. It's not a portal, but it's exactly what you said about all the things that play a part in the launching into space. Yeah. Genesis replaces reality with fantasy, leaving us with no sense of where we are, and how long we've been in crisis. Space and time disconnected. And I can see that. But I just take the whole Genesis story and I kind of pretty much just throw that shit away. It's all you're doing is retelling other people's story. And the other people's version, I'd rather read their version than your version. Your version is Cliff Notes. The Sumerian version, the Babylonian version, everybody else's version is details. If you take your Cliff Notes, I failed. How many tests I failed reading just the Cliff Notes? Somebody coming. Religion is only okay followed up to wait a minute. Religion. Oh, I think religion is only. Why did you have those little thing objects in it? I guess you're trying to add some things and it didn't add it, and it just showed object to me. I think religion is only okay followed up to like believing in Santa Claus. True, but I refuse to teach my children any of that, um, because believing in Santa Claus did damage to my psyche when I was a kid. So Christmas was good all the way up to my memory, up until about, I think I was about 8 years old, 8, 9 years old, somewhere around in there. Then all of a sudden, no, I was, yeah, about 8, 9. Christmas, 9 years old, Christmas was still good. And that was the year that I actually started questioning the Bible. But 9 years old, Christmas was still good. Come downstairs, all the stuff. Then 10, 11, somewhere around in there, come downstairs, there ain't nothing down there. It's nothing. I'm like, well, damn. So let me be real good. And I was real good. I was making sure, because Santa Claus ain't gonna pass me by. Next year, still didn't get shit. I was mad. I mean, I got some gifts from my grandmother. People gave me gifts, but Santa Claus didn't bring me the stuff that I wanted. I was writing the letters and everything. So after the second year, I was like, forget this. And I went out and I was an ass. I mean, I was just doing whatever the hell I wanted to do. And then I remember my mom was like, why are you? She was so frustrated with me. She said, why are you acting so? And I told her, I said, well, Santa Claus, I was good 2 years in a row, perfect. And Santa Claus didn't bring me nothing. So I figured, why am I wasting my time being all good and he ain't bringing me nothing? My mother said, boy, you know there ain't no dang on Santa Claus. You know I buy all those gifts. And I used to, and the place Coates and Clark, they closed down. And now, I had to go get, 2 jobs, 2.5 jobs, and I'm still not making the ends meet. She went into this whole thing, and I didn't even realize my mom was going through all this stuff. And I felt so bad. But then I was mad as hell at her at the same time, because I was like, why you let me believe in this stuff? Why didn't you just explain it? I was that kind of kid. Like, why didn't you just explain that? Why you let me believe it, that there was some Santa Claus dude coming and supposed to be gifting me all this stuff? If you had just been telling me that, I would have never done all of this stuff. And she then got mad at me because she was like, you being smart. I was like, I'm not being smart, Mom. I'm just telling you. If you'd have told me that, I would understand it. Which is why that following year, I wouldn't let her buy me glasses so I can keep playing baseball. Which I probably would have been a pro in baseball if I had. But that's not the point. But I was already questioning this religion at that point. That just made me like, I'm questioning every goddamn thing now. But that hurt me. I was emotionally hurt because I wasn't emotionally hurt because Santa Claus didn't exist. I was emotionally hurt because my mother had lied to me. My mom had been lying to me all these years, so how can I trust my mom now? And maybe that's why I have a hard time trusting people. Maybe that's where it started. I thought it started later on, but it probably started right then. But I've had a hard time. You tell me something, okay, let me go check. 14. I went back. I vacillated back and forth. I first tried to prove the Bible. Up until I was about 20 something, I tried to prove the Bible. But by the time I was 27, I was completely out of it. I had seen enough. I had seen quite enough. I had many great Christmases. I was selfish. Poor people were all around me, suffering all the while. Oh, just rub it in, dollar. Just go ahead and rub it in that I was suffering through my little Christmas trauma, and you just having a great time. I just appreciate that, sir. I appreciated my family more when I learned the truth about Christmas. Like, I appreciated my family. Like, my grandmother, she brought me. Do y'all remember the old football boards? I tell you, if somebody walked in here with the old football boards, I would sit up here and play with that goddamn old thing right now with a little bass and a little green bass on them. And you turn, and I would play with that thing right now. That was one of the best gifts my grandmother ever got me. Because before I had the little small board that was only about this big, but she had got me that big board. Oh, that was the best gift ever. And I will play with that right now. I don't care how loud that thing is. Yes, a little childhood regression right there. But oh my gosh, that was great. That was great. I appreciate, I was already in love with my grandmother. That just, oh my gosh, she's the best. And I didn't care. I think that year, that was the only gift that I had received. And I was like, oh my gosh. When you found out Jesus wasn't real, it broke your heart. Finding out Jesus wasn't real didn't so much break my heart. It made me angry because I had been trying to tell people for so long. And I was being called all kind of names and all this kind of stuff. You know, you're Antichrist, you're going to hell. You got that inward knowledge, that prison knowledge, all this stuff. The community in Marietta couldn't stand me. Like certain fathers wouldn't let me date their daughters, and I couldn't be friends with certain people or go to people's houses and all that sort of thing. So it was a little hellish, you know, dealing with all the bullshit and then being in the service. You know, they want to pray. I'm like, I'm not praying. Whatever the hell. I'm not saying this pledge allegiance. No. I'm not swearing on the Bible. I'm not doing none of that stuff. So there was always issues that I had to deal with. So it didn't hurt me and like break my heart because I was never, you know, it didn't. But it was a relief, but also a lot of frustration. Oh, you talking to her. Ooh, it's 1:51. I got shit to do. Mothers were just following, she was just following tradition. But my kids, no. And then my kids had to go through the process of, had to have a parent-teacher conference. Can you tell Sydney to stop telling the other kids that Santa Claus ain't real? I said, can you tell the kids to stop saying Santa Claus is real? I think we're done with this conversation. The metal field, they don't know about. Yeah, they don't know about that metal field, boy. I'm telling you. Do they still make those? You know, I'm gonna look it up. I know Angelina probably already looked it up, but I'm gonna look that thing up. Yep, just that vibrating football field and Pong, we good. It's gonna be hard to separate the black man from the Bible. I have lost many friends and family members from my stance. They love the hope. Yep, it will. The only way to separate black people from the Bible is for black people to prosper economically and socially and politically, and then they can prosper emotionally and separate themselves. Oppressed people. I was actually doing research on the fact that people are leaving religion. That religion is decreasing and has been decreasing over the last 20 years. And the thing about it, and the internet has a big part to play in it. Then you have things like COVID and all these other things happen as well. But the internet is the biggest player in it. And then, you know, but the thing about it is, where's this lady going? The thing about it is, with people leaving, one of the things is showing that these religions are now depending on the oppressed people who are coming into their communities in order to beef up their numbers. All right. So the more you move people out of an oppressive state, the less they rely on some religion. So in order to get black people out of this religion, and it is difficult, black people will have to, on the majority, start prospering. You know, the majority of let's just say black Americans will have to at least be in the middle to upper middle class before they start leaving this religion alone. All right. We'll see more and more of us walk away from it, the more and more we are prospering economically and socially, which is, as you guys know, it's part of my plan. You know, that's why we black businesses have to do better in providing better services and better products. And then we have to then support those black businesses. But it starts with the black businesses that are already in existence, providing better service and products, overcoming the stigma that's been placed on black business, so that black people will feel more secure in supporting those businesses. And then we infiltrate the schools and all these other areas around us and take over our communities. We take over our communities, we prosper more, we'll start seeing generation after generation letting this Bible go, especially with the internet out there and people being able to access more information. So To sum up this thing, because I do have things to do, the rapture is fake. There is no rapture. Rapture is not going to happen. They believe the rapture was going to happen within a generation that this so-called Jesus character who never existed lived, but they kept they kept moving the goalposts thereafter in order for people to continue to believe in this bullshit. So the rapture never happened, and all the writings that they give to all the writings that go towards an idea of a rapture actually had a different meaning. They were talking about surviving a flood. They were talking about going out to meet an emissary in the clouds and then coming down to earth, not talking about going to meet up in the clouds to go into the clouds. So no, all that stuff is misinterpretations, misconceptions, power moves to keep people indoctrinated into this religion so that they can maintain control. I'm not even going to sum up flat earth and moon landings and all that other stuff. We're not going to do it. But I appreciate you guys. I do tremendously. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. If that's who I think it is, let me see if this is who I think it is before I get off here. Because if it is, I want him to answer something that goes back to something we talked about. But that's not him. That car looks too good. He drives an old beat up ass car. Well, it ain't beat up, but that car looks too good. So with that, tomorrow we are going to start going over. We're gonna do the Gospel of Thomas. We're gonna look at a Gnostic book found in Nag Hammadi. Break down as much as we can break down of it. I can break down most of it. Still working on some of it, but we will get what we can from it. I do the Gospel of Thomas flows kind of with the Kabbalion. That's why I wanted to do it after the Kabbalion. But certainly, if you guys have some other book ideas after we go through the Gospel of Thomas, because it shouldn't take us too long, because it's only 114 sayings, then we'll move on to something else. Oh my God, I'm not even going to entertain that in mind. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I will see y'all tomorrow.